LoveLore Library. Chapter 626. Wang Jinde couldn't be blamed for saying this. In his current thoughts, he already thought that Zhao Ying was Yang Ming's woman. So when he saw Yang Ming get angry, his first thought was that these brands of condoms weren't what Yang Ming wanted. At this moment, the expression on Yang Ming's face was as good as it could be. However, Zhao Ying was looking in front of him, so he couldn't say too much. He just said with a sullen face, "Buy your second hand. I don't need these things, oh." Wang Jinde looked at Zhao Ying and looked at Yang Ming. Then he suddenly said, I understand. Then he quickly walked to the bedside table and put away the boxes of condoms. Yang Ming thought that he really understood. Who would have thought that when this kid walked to the door, he actually said to himself, it turns out that Brother Yang is a drug user. Yang Ming really wanted to kick him. This kid, isn't he a bit too creepy? It's a bit outrageous. Zhao Ying also looked like she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She naturally understood now that all of this was done by Yang Ming's friend on his own initiative. But even if it wasn't done by Yang Ming, Zhao Ying was still a bit embarrassed. After Wang Jinde went out, Yang Ming scolded, this kid, fucking messed around. Don't bother with him. Forget it, he is actually kind-hearted. Zhao Ying said with a red face, it's just a misunderstanding of our relationship. If you and Chen Mengyan came, you wouldn't scold him, ugh. Yang Ming was embarrassed and said, Mengyan and I didn't, that, hee, who are you kidding? Zhao Ying smiled. Do you think I don't know college students nowadays? In that case, Sister Ying, you've also experienced it. Yang Ming asked mischievously. Why are you talking about me? I don't have a boyfriend yet. Zhao Ying glared at Yang Ming. Ha! Just kidding. Yang Ming said, Sister Ying, you should rest for a while. You can't sleep on the plane. You must be very tired. Okay, but this room only has one big bed. What are you going to do? Zhao Ying said, you were woken up by me in the middle of the night. You probably didn't sleep well, right? Then should I ask him to change to a double room for us, or should I get another room for myself? Yang Ming asked. Forget it, there's no need. Zhao Ying shook her head and said, we still have to trouble them. It's already good enough that they entertain us. How about this? Just lie down and sleep with me. You're not taking off your clothes anyway. That's fine. Yang Ming naturally wanted it. In his heart, he still had feelings for Zhao Ying. This feeling made Yang Ming have a special mood every time he saw Zhao Ying. It was natural to think of that summer night, that night. The moment when the two people almost kissed each other. Yang Ming even had the same thoughts as Zhao Ying sometimes. If I were more active and overbearing at that time, would Zhao Ying have become my first woman? Or the second one besides Lin Jiyun? It should be said that she was the first woman in a real sense. However, the past was the past. It was difficult for Yang Ming to see through Zhao Ying's thoughts. Zhao Ying was now like a close friend and sister to him. Her eyes were not mixed with other things, so Yang Ming didn't dare to take a step further. Sharing a bed with Yang Ming, Zhao Ying's mood was also very nervous and excited. How could it be so easy to fall asleep? Although she was very calm on the surface, and closed her eyes as if she was sleeping, her heart was fiercely churning. Yang Ming, haven't you done it with Chen Mengyan yet? Zhao Ying hesitated. Yang Ming shouldn't lie to me about this kind of thing. Back then, when he came clean about Lan Ling, he explained everything clearly to him. That is to say, if I take the lead and do it with Yang Ming, then am I more advantageous than Chen Mengyan? Thinking of this, Zhao Ying's heart couldn't help but be eager. For her, tonight may be a good opportunity. However, it may also be a double loss. She could only bet on which one of Yang Ming's feelings for her and Qin Mengyan was deeper. Xiao Ying wasn't sure, but she was more willing to believe that Yang Ming loved Qin Mengyan more. How to say it, this seemed to be a bit contradictory, but she really didn't want Yang Ming to be a person who was fickle. So in a moment, Xiao Ying also had a plan. If she really had something with Yang Ming now, then she would be too sorry for Qin Mengyan. Qin Mengyan treated her as a big sister and told her all her thoughts, but she had to scheme against her. Xiao Ying absolutely couldn't do this kind of thing, and she didn't want to do it. Therefore, the two people who loved each other in their hearts could only pretend to be very calm and lie on the bed honestly. Fortunately, in the end, sleepiness prevailed. When the two people woke up again, it was already 10:30 in the morning. Both of them were awakened by a burst of firecrackers. During the Chinese New Year, there was nothing else but the sound of firecrackers. Yang Ming rubbed his eyes and sat up. He glanced at Xiao Ying next to him. She had also opened her eyes. "You're awake." Yang Ming smiled and said, "How was your sleep?" "It's okay." Xiao Ying said with a bitter face, "I may not be used to the bed in this hotel. I have a bit of neck pain and shoulder pain. How about, then we don't go to the temple fair? Let me send you home." Yang Ming asked with concern. "No, I want to go." Xiao Ying shook her head again and again. "I suffered such a big pain to fly back in the middle of the night. Aren't I rushing to go to the temple fair? Otherwise, it would be better if I came back this afternoon. Then I will give you a massage." Yang Ming smiled and then reached out to massage Xiao Ying's shoulder. He really didn't have any other thoughts. When Fang Tian trained him, he also taught him a lot of massage techniques. Because when performing tasks, it was inevitable that there would be contusions or other accidents. Learning to self-massage could solve a lot of problems. Xiao Ying was blushing because of Yang Ming. However, seeing Yang Ming's serious look, Xiao Ying didn't refuse. Moreover, the place that was massaged by Yang Ming was really comfortable. It seemed that Yang Ming was really giving her a massage and didn't want to take advantage of her. In fact, even if he took advantage, Xiao Ying wouldn't say anything. At most, she would feel that Yang Ming was a dishonest person, but she was too lazy to talk about him because her heart had already had his shadow. Being massaged by Yang Ming like this, Xiao Ying's shoulder and neck suddenly felt better. She couldn't help but be surprised. "Yang Ming, you really know how to massage. Otherwise, what do you think I'm doing?" Yang Ming listened to Xiao Ying's words and didn't know what to say. "I don't think I'm a liar." "Hee hee." Xiao Ying smiled. "I'm much better. It's okay. Let's go." "Right, it's already 10 o'clock. Can we still go to the temple fair?" "Of course, there are people at the temple fair all day long." Yang Ming smiled and reached out to Xiao Ying, wanting to pull her up. But in a moment, he reacted. The person on the bed now was Xiao Ying, not Qin Mengyan. When he massaged Xiao Ying, the intimate action instantly closed the distance between the two people. Yang Ming subconsciously regarded Xiao Ying as a close person, so the scene just now happened. Seeing Yang Ming's awkwardness, Xiao Ying smiled. "I don't need you to pull me up. I can get up." "Hee hee." Yang Ming laughed twice. On the other hand, Wang Jinda was somewhat inexplicable about Yang Ming's anger yesterday. He couldn't figure it out, so he got up early in the morning and went to consult Ho Jinhan. After Ho Jinhan heard it, he scolded Wang Jinda, blaming him for acting on his own initiative. Yang Ming might have picked up a relative or a good friend. "What is going on with you doing this?" When Wang Jinda heard it, he patted his head and suddenly realized. It seemed that he really thought a bit too much, so he didn't even dare to see Yang Ming's face and hid directly. So now, Yang Ming's driver also became Ho Jinhan. They had breakfast in the Nightless Club's restaurant. It was already past the breakfast time, but who was Yang Ming? With a word from Ho Jinhan, the restaurant re-prepared a hot breakfast. After Yang Ming and Zhao Ying ate, they went to the temple fair. Yang Ming looked at the familiar temple fair sign and couldn't help but touch his nose with a bitter smile. Chinese New Year, 3 days, but I came here 3 times with 3 different beauties. This was probably one of the rarest examples in history. There was nothing for Ho Jinhan to do in the temple fair. After informing him, Yang Ming let him go back first. Chapter 627. After Ho Jinhan left, Yang Ming and Zhao Ying started to stroll from the beginning of the temple fair. After all, Zhao Ying was older. Although she was curious about the things in the temple fair, she wasn't as eager as Chen Mengyan and the others. In the commercial street, they casually bought some gadgets. Then, they went back to the performance street. Why didn't they go to the entertainment street first? Because Yang Ming was more awkward there. Yang Ming was afraid that Zhao Ying would take him to play something, so subconsciously, Yang Ming led Zhao Ying to another road. It's really lively here. Zhao Ying looked at the bustling crowd and said sincerely, I have been in Songjiang for so many years. This is the first time I have come to the temple fair. Who asked you to go home during the Chinese New Year? Naturally, you couldn't see it. Yang Ming smiled. Yeah, I was busy taking care of you students. I didn't have time to study these things. Zhao Ying nodded and said, now, I am a student again. I have time to do something I like. Right, Sister Ying, are you not going to be a teacher in the future? Asked Yang Ming. Didn't I say? I want to be a strong woman in the business world. Zhao Ying nodded and said with some longing, it's just that my parents think that the career of a teacher is very stable and the income is good. They don't want me to do business. If this is the case, why are you still studying as a graduate student in the economics department? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Hee, I took the exam behind my parents' back, but it has already become a fact. What can I do if they don't let me? Zhao Ying also smiled slyly. I am acting first and reporting later. When they know, it will be too late. Hey! Yang Ming, what is that over there? Why are there so many people? Zhao Ying suddenly pointed in a direction not far away as she spoke. Oh! Yang Ming looked up. It turned out to be a performance of a beauty and a python. A very beautiful young woman was dancing with an incomparably huge, terrifyingly strange-looking python, attracting the continuous cheers of the crowd. It's a beauty and a python show. Yang Ming said to Zhao Ying, there are a lot of people watching. Let's go and have a look. Of course I'm going. Since she was here, Zhao Ying didn't want to have any regrets. However, after taking 2 steps, he said, that's not right. Yang Ming, when did your eyesight become so good? I wear contact lenses. Yang Ming was sweating profusely as he quickly gave a perfunctory answer. That's right, at such a distance, no one would be able to see clearly, but I actually described it so clearly. Contact lenses. Zhao Ying was stunned. You wear contact lenses? That's right. Have you forgotten? When I was in my 3rd year of high school, there was an exam where you helped me put on my contact lenses. Yang Ming nodded seriously. Oh. I remember now. It was that time. Zhao Ying nodded. I thought you were deliberately distracting me to cheat. So you are really short-sighted. Hee, a little bit, not serious. Yang Ming smiled awkwardly. He was afraid that Zhao Ying would expose him if she continued to ask, so he changed the topic. Sister Ying, why don't you believe in my ability? Do I need to distract the invigilator's attention to cheat in the exam? Yang Ming's implication was that if I cheated, I would have copied it directly. There was no need to use such a cheap trick. Hee, then how did I find out that your paper was the same as Zhang Bin's paper? What else do you have to explain? Zhao Ying said. I studied better than him. Maybe he copied it from me. Yang Ming said shamelessly. Your paper seemed to have his name written on it, right? Zhao Ying twitched her mouth. Now Yang Ming's results were better than Zhang Bin's. That was for sure. But before that, it was hard to say. As the two of them were chatting, they came to the place where the crowd gathered. Sure enough, there was a performance of the acrobatics of a beautiful woman and a python. A young woman was dancing a giant python. She was circling back and forth in the air. The python danced with her movements. Everyone present was amazed. Even Zhao Ying seemed to be in a daze. She looked very excited. It was no wonder that girls were more interested in this kind of acrobatic performance. Just look at the tourists who were screaming and clapping their hands. Suddenly, the young woman's gesture changed. The python's body suddenly straightened. It flew back and forth on a wooden stick that the young woman waved. Then the python opened its big mouth. The young woman didn't know what was in front of its mouth. After that, a fire dragon flew out. It was just in the direction of Yang Ming and Zhao Ying. Ah! Zhao Ying was shocked and shouted in panic. Because the flame was about to burn her and Yang Ming. Of course, this was just what she thought. In fact, the flame was still a long way away from them. Moreover, even if it touched people, it didn't matter because this was a special low-temperature flame used for acrobatics. It wouldn't burn people at all. But Zhao Ying didn't know. In a hurry, she grabbed Yang Ming's arm and hid her whole body behind Yang Ming. This was a girl's unique nature. When they were in danger, they liked to hide behind a man. In Zhao Ying's subconscious, she had already regarded Yang Ming as her support, so this idea was stronger. When she saw the flame coming, she subconsciously thought that Yang Ming would protect her. Yang Ming saw Zhao Ying's appearance and couldn't help but smile. It was rare for Zhao Ying to show a little girl in front of him. He hadn't felt like this for a long time. Yang Ming sighed and took the opportunity to hug Zhao Ying's shoulder, letting her lean more comfortably in his arms. In fact, among the girls present, not only Zhao Ying had this reaction, but many girls were like Zhao Ying. They screamed and jumped into their boyfriend's arms. The flame disappeared in an instant. It was calm as if it had never appeared. It didn't burn anyone present. At this time, the girls screamed again and cheered loudly for the performer. Zhao Ying also realized the ambiguity between the two. She awkwardly broke away from Yang Ming's arm and coughed twice with a red face. She didn't know what to say. Although Yang Ming was the one who touched her, she took the initiative to pull Yang Ming's arm first. Yang Ming was only one step closer to her foundation. She couldn't say that he was a hooligan, right? This matter couldn't be explained clearly. Yang Ming didn't insist. Zhao Ying struggled, and he let go of his hand. His action was very natural, without the slightest pretentiousness. Zhao Ying couldn't find anything wrong with it. In fact, Yang Ming was now guessing Zhao Ying's mentality. The moment just now, especially the moment when it was close to danger, was the most real moment of Zhao Ying's inner thoughts. In the face of danger, very few people could keep calm for a moment. And this moment of not being calm reflected the real thoughts of this person. Therefore, when the danger came, the first thing Zhao Ying did was to grab his arm tightly and hide behind him. What did this mean? The most likely thing was that in Zhao Ying's heart, she still regarded him as someone to rely on, just like in the past. He just didn't know why Zhao Ying was now much colder to him. Could it be because of Chen Mengyan? This possibility couldn't be ruled out. Another guess was that Zhao Ying just used him as a shield. When the danger came, she just grabbed a person to block in front of her. This was human instinct, and it was also a very realistic guess. If this was the case, then Zhao Ying would grab anyone to block her face. However, it seemed that Zhao Ying wasn't that kind of person. All of this was Yang Ming's guess. Now Zhao Ying's expression had returned to normal, as if the thing just now didn't happen. Yang Ming sighed at the same time, but he was also very helpless. A person's thoughts were the most difficult to understand. You were scared just now, right? Yang Ming asked with a smile. A little. I thought the fire was going to burn me. Zhao Ying nodded with lingering fear. Then you pulled me to block in front of you. Weren't you afraid of burning me? Yang Ming couldn't understand, so naturally, he wanted to ask Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying wasn't on guard. How would she know that Yang Ming was asking? She said without thinking, at that time, I subconsciously thought that you could protect me. Yang Ming, didn't you say before? You want to protect your sister? Why? You don't want to admit it. How can I? Yang Ming said with a dry smile, but he was overjoyed in his heart. Sure enough, inadvertently, Zhao Ying still revealed her inner thoughts. Zhao Ying trusted me, but this kind of trust, is it based on the relationship of siblings, or something else? Zhao Ying's last sentence of protecting his sister made Yang Ming a little confused. Does Zhao Ying still treat me as a younger brother? Chapter 628. Both of them didn't continue this topic. They watched the performance for a while before leaving the performance street. I heard that the things in the entertainment street are very fun. Zhao Ying suddenly said. That, the entertainment street is for children to play. Yang Ming really didn't want to go to the entertainment street. Many people knew him there, especially after he was in the limelight twice in 2 days. No, I watched our Song Jiang's local satellite TV at home. The introduction on it is very fun. Zhao Ying said with great interest, especially a new rock climbing game. I want to see it. Yang Ming listened to Zhao Ying's words and suddenly felt a chill on his back. No way. She really wants to go. Moreover, it's rock climbing. Then, okay. Yang Ming couldn't help it. Seeing Zhao Ying's look of expectation, he couldn't bear to refuse again. He had to nod. I have accompanied my previous 2 girlfriends. Zhao Ying isn't the only one left. If I like her, I have to treat her fairly and treat her equally. This is also to cultivate my own fairness in advance. Zhao Ying was different from Chen Mengyan. She was only interested in some small games. She didn't have much interest in those that were obviously gambling, such as bag fishing, card drawing, treasure digging, and so on. From this, it could also be seen that Zhao Ying was a very rational person who could control her emotions very well. Needless to say, this kind of temperament was really more suitable for business. There wouldn't be a situation where she gambled the entire company out of passion. The games that Zhao Ying played were all games with heavy entertainment, such as goldfish fishing and other leisure games. Zhao Ying used a game coin to exchange for 2 small goldfish. It was still very cost-effective. Yang Ming accompanied Zhao Ying. He enjoyed the warmth of this moment as if he had returned to the past. Sure enough, as Yang Ming expected, someone recognized him. This person was the boss of the rock climbing club, who was also the organizer. However, he did not expose Yang Ming's identity. He only nodded at Yang Ming in a friendly manner. To be honest, the organizers really hoped that Yang Ming would come here. Because rock climbing was a new project in Songjiang, it had just entered here. It was in the stage of publicity and development, and the organizers didn't want to make money at this time. They only wanted to bring more popularity. After all, he was the only one who had obtained the exclusive right to operate Songjiang. He was preparing to enter the amusement park, children's amusement park, and some large parks. Yesterday, under the leadership of Yang Ming, the atmosphere of rock climbing had become unprecedentedly high. At the very least, the people who came yesterday had accepted this new sport. But today, it was a lot worse. Although there were a lot of people climbing, the atmosphere was not good enough. Atmosphere is a very wonderful thing. It can arouse people's emotions and passion, making people rush to be the first to linger. For example, Yang Ming and Chen Mingyan's loving scene yesterday touched a lot of couples. Wang Dogwang was the person who lived near the entertainment street. He saw the whole process of Yang Ming's rock climbing yesterday. After he went back, he couldn't stand his girlfriend's nagging. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and climb the rock today. In fact, Wang Dogwang was a guy with a strong jealousy, but he didn't have a lot of courage. He was the kind of person who was bad. "Sir, do you want to rock climb?" The organizer smiled and said to Yang Ming. In his heart, he still hoped that Yang Ming could pull up the atmosphere. Yang Ming was stunned. Looking at the organizer's fake expression, he understood in his heart that he had become a prop. But it doesn't matter if it's a prop. The key is that he didn't expose me. In this way, I won't be too embarrassed in front of Zhao Ying. Although who he came with didn't have much to do with Zhao Ying, Yang Ming still didn't want to ruin the current atmosphere in his subconscious. "Do you want to try?" Yang Ming turned his head and asked Zhao Ying. "I don't want to." Zhao Ying shook her head and said, "I'm a little scared. But I want to watch you climb." "That's good. I will show you a big prize." Yang Ming nodded. "Bullshit." Zhao Ying certainly didn't believe it. "I watched the introduction on TV. This is very difficult. There are only a few people who can climb up." "That's not necessarily true. Isn't that right, boss?" Yang Ming smiled and asked the organizer next to him. Hee, yeah. Maybe you can get a big prize." The organizer smiled and nodded. "Then I'll count on your auspicious words." After Yang Ming signed the agreement with the organizer, he went to prepare for the activity. When Wang Dogwang saw Yang Ming at first glance, he recognized him. Wang Dogwang looked at Yang Ming and then looked at Zhao Ying next to him. There was a burst of anger in his heart for no reason. "Damn, aren't you fucking capable? You can't come every day, right? Isn't this acting? Moreover, you fucking change a beautiful girl every day." Wang Dogwang was the kind of person who couldn't bear to see others better than him. Moreover, because of Yang Ming's scene yesterday, not only did he spend 200 yuan today, but he also had to suffer here. Therefore, he directed all his anger and resentment toward Yang Ming. If it weren't for Yang Ming, he wouldn't have to suffer here. Looking at Yang Ming moving his hands and feet, Wang Dogwang was even more angry. "Damn, you can do it. Just you wait." When climbing, Wang Dogwang chose the rock path next to Yang Ming. Why? Because the side of the rock path was the rope that came down. Wang Dogwang's mind had a plan to mess with Yang Ming. "Since you let my wife force me to do this fucking thing, then I'll do it once and let you know the consequences of being struck by lightning." Of course, he didn't dare to openly provoke him, so he could only pretend that it was an accident. Because he had the belief to mess with Yang Ming, Wang Dogwang climbed very quickly. Wang Dogwang was proud. It seemed that he really had the talent for rock climbing. As Yang Ming climbed up, Zhao Ying began to worry. Just now, she only had a playful attitude and wanted to ask Yang Ming to climb up for her to see. However, when she was really in the situation and saw Yang Ming above her, Zhao Ying couldn't help but be afraid. How could I ask Yang Ming to play such a dangerous game? Zhao Ying blamed herself. Couldn't I just see how others play? Why did I ask Yang Ming to go up? Just as she was worried, a more shocking scene appeared for Zhao Ying. Another rock climber next to Yang Ming, Wang Dogwang, suddenly shook his hand and fell down. However, Wang Dogwang had a premeditated plan. All of this was an act. He instantly grabbed the rope by his hand and swung in the direction of Yang Ming. "Aw! Help! Help!" Wang Dogwang pretended to be anxious and grabbed Yang Ming randomly. His legs kept kicking back and forth, but it was all aimed at Yang Ming. Zhao Ying was anxious. What's wrong with this person? If you want to fall, then just fall. Why are you grabbing Yang Ming? Do you want to fall together with him? In a moment of desperation, he didn't care about the danger and rushed to Yang Ming's side. In the beginning, Yang Ming really thought that the guy next to him couldn't hold on and was going to fall. He wanted to help him, but he immediately realized that something was wrong. There was no panic in this guy's eyes, but there was a kind of excitement, a perverted excitement. But there was more jealousy and gloating. Seeing that this guy's every grab and every kick was directed in his direction, Yang Ming understood everything. This guy is doing it deliberately. He wants to get me down. Could it be, this person is jealous of me? Yang Ming wasn't a fool. It was impossible that no one recognized him after 3 days of rock climbing. Maybe this guy next to him was one of them. Everyone has a jealous mentality, but some people have a serious jealousy, and some people have a mild jealousy. And this guy next to him was obviously too jealous. Yang Ming wanted to teach this guy a lesson. Suddenly, he saw Zhao Ying running toward him. He was touched, but he suddenly had a plan. Now, isn't it the best time to test Zhao Ying's thoughts? I can take advantage of the situation. Hee hee. Thinking of this, Yang Ming had a plan in his heart. He pretended to be physically weak and exclaimed, "Don't pull me. Don't pull me. Quickly move away. Save me. Save me." Although Wang Dogwang was shouting for help, his actions were crazily trying to pull Yang Ming down. The organizer saw the scene above and was very anxious. While he asked Zhao Ying to hide further away, he also took out the microphone and asked Wang Dogwang not to disturb others climbing. There was an inflatable cushion below, so it was fine even if he fell. Wang Dogwang wouldn't listen to the organizer. He came for Yang Ming, and it was intentional. He wanted to get Yang Ming down. Chapter 629. Seeing that the organizer had interfered, Wang Dogwang became even crazier. He pulled and pulled. He wanted to drag Yang Ming down as soon as possible. However, how could Yang Ming be so easily dragged down by him? Saying that Yang Ming was a gecko was a bit belittling him. Seeing the opportunity, Zhao Ying was not far below him. Yang Ming began to move. "Fuck your mother." Yang Ming cursed in his heart and then kicked out with his foot. Wang Dogwang's body was like a kite with a broken string. He flew out with a whoosh. Of course, Yang Ming held back a lot of strength. He wouldn't kick him to death directly. However, he would definitely let him suffer a little. Wang Dogwang directly flew out of the range of the air cushion below, but because he landed on his butt, although it was very painful, his body wouldn't have any major problems. Yang Ming didn't want to cause any trouble, so he just taught him a lesson. Now, Yang Ming had more important things to do. After Yang Ming kicked Wang Dogwang, he also pretended to be physically weak and fell from the rock wall. However, Yang Ming's posture when he fell was very special. After rotating 180 degrees in the air, he fell down on his stomach. So, a strange scene appeared. After Yang Ming fell from above, he directly pounced on Zhao Ying's body and pushed Zhao Ying down on the inflatable cushion. Because the cushion's elasticity was very good, Yang Ming was not afraid of hurting Zhao Ying. Yang Ming just wanted to take the opportunity to lie on Zhao Ying's body and take advantage of her. He wanted to see Zhao Ying's attitude towards him. However, what he didn't expect was that because the speed of falling was too fast, after Yang Ming pushed Zhao Ying down, Yang Ming's mouth coincidentally kissed Zhao Ying's mouth. Yang Ming dared to swear that this was definitely not intentional. Although he was a little lecherous, he wasn't anxious. Coincidence, it was just a coincidence. Yang Ming was stunned, and Zhao Ying was also stunned. However, Zhao Ying also knew that this was not Yang Ming's intention, so she didn't care about these details. She just looked at Yang Ming with concern. Just as she wanted to ask, she found that her mouth had already been sealed by Yang Ming. When Zhao Ying opened her mouth, Yang Ming immediately felt it. Yang Ming's heart, what does Zhao Ying mean? Could it be that she wants to open her mouth and take the initiative to ask me to kiss her? Seeing the tenderness in Zhao Ying's eyes, Yang Ming's heart moved. He might as well go all the way. Since it was already like this, it wouldn't be easy to explain. He might as well go straight to the next step. Because Zhao Ying opened her mouth, Yang Ming easily put his tongue into Zhao Ying's mouth. Woo woo. Zhao Ying was concerned about Yang Ming's safety, but she didn't expect Yang Ming to suddenly kiss her. Zhao Ying was shocked. Her whole body trembled. She wanted to say something, but unfortunately, Zhao Ying wanted to speak, and her tongue couldn't help but move. In this way, it touched Yang Ming's tongue. It looked like she was cooperating with Yang Ming to kiss. However, that moment of existence made Zhao Ying's heart beat faster. Such a strange feeling. So comfortable, and so shy. Zhao Ying's mind went blank with a boom. What was left was only the desire for her lover. However, Yang Ming didn't know. He thought that Zhao Ying was responding to him, so he immediately put down the worry in his heart and continued to kiss Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying was in a daze, and she began to cooperate with Yang Ming. In the crowd watching by the side, there was a warm applause. This scene was simply too interesting. It was too comedic and mythical. Although the organizer saw that Yang Ming failed to climb the rock, the effect was not bad. The atmosphere of the entire venue was brought up by Yang Ming, and he was secretly happy. Yang Ming is really my lucky star. It seems that I must get to know him when I have the chance. At that moment, Zhao Ying's heart was confused, and her feelings were also lost. However, Zhao Ying was still the kind of woman who was rational over everything after all. Previously, she could reject Yang Ming in a very impulsive situation, which explained this point. However, at this moment, she almost made a big mistake in a daze. What am I doing? Yang Ming's current girlfriend is Qin Mengyan. What is going on with me? No, absolutely not. At least, not now. Thinking of this, Zhao Ying's mind suddenly woke up. She quickly withdrew her tongue, and then turned her head to the side. Ah. A shrill and despairing voice sounded lonely and abrupt amidst the cheering voices. Yang Ming and Zhao Ying were shocked at the same time, because the owner of the voice was very familiar to both of them. Chen Mengyan was very happy these 2 days. Yesterday, Yang Ming actually carried her to climb the rock wall. This was such a happy and exciting thing. Chen Mengyan had some insomnia the whole night. It was the first time she missed someone so much. She missed him very much. At all times, her mind was filled with Yang Ming's figure. Although I used to like Yang Ming very much and love Yang Ming very much, I have never been crazy like this. Chen Mengyan experienced the taste of passionate love for the first time. This feeling made her happy and nervous. Early in the morning, Chen Mengyan received a text message from Yang Ming, saying that he had something to do today and had to accompany a friend. Chen Mengyan couldn't help but be a little disappointed. That part of mine doesn't hurt very much today. I originally wanted to develop further with Yang Ming. It seems that I can only wait for a few days. Chen Mengyan also felt very strange about her thoughts. Although Chen Mengyan didn't reject some intimate relationship with Yang Ming before, she just felt that the relationship between the two people had reached that point, so it was dispensable. But now, Chen Mengyan had a special impulse to give herself to Yang Ming for the first time. Yes, she didn't want to wait for a moment. She hoped that this moment would come sooner. However, when Yang Ming said that he had something to do today, although Chen Mengyan was a little disappointed, she wasn't angry. She decided that she would be an obedient girl in the future. She would no longer be willful and would no longer cause trouble for Yang Ming. Therefore, Chen Mengyan just told Yang Ming to be careful and didn't say anything else. At home, she was a little bored, so she decided to walk around the street. Unknowingly, she came to the temple fair. Chen Mengyan didn't know why she came here. Probably because there were beautiful memories of Yang Ming and herself here. Chen Mengyan felt that she was like a happy little woman. It was just a small matter, and she felt very sweet when she recalled it. Since she came here, Chen Mengyan decided to go to the rock climbing place yesterday. That was the place that was most unforgettable for Chen Mengyan. When Chen Mengyan came to the rock climbing game on the entertainment street with a happy mood, she saw a scene that broke her heart. She even couldn't believe her eyes. How is this possible? The man on the air cushion is actually Yang Ming, and he is actually kissing another woman. This was nothing. What Chen Mengyan couldn't accept was that the woman Yang Ming kissed was actually Zhao Ying. This made Chen Mengyan's tears burst out instantly like a flood breaking through a dam. Zhao Ying, the person that I have always respected, is actually under Yang Ming. How can this be? All along, Chen Mengyan had been treating Zhao Ying as a teacher and respected her as a sister. Moreover, she told her thoughts without reservation to this big sister. But, she actually stole my man behind my back. This made Chen Mengyan unable to imagine. This blow was a bit too big. If the person under Yang Ming was Lan Ling or even Zhou Jiejie, Chen Mengyan wouldn't be so angry. But this person is Zhao Ying. The person that I thought was the most impossible was doing one thing behind my back. Chen Mengyan screamed loudly, covered her face, turned around, and ran away quickly. In this world, who can I trust? On one side is my most intimate lover, and on the other side is the teacher and sister that I admire. And it is these two people who did such a dirty thing behind my back. Chen Mengyan couldn't accept it, couldn't understand it, and couldn't imagine it. Looking at Chen Mengyan who disappeared into the crowd, Zhao Ying and Yang Ming were shocked at the same time. Pushing Yang Ming away, Zhao Ying said reproachfully, "Hurry up and chase after her. What are you waiting for? Then you." Yang Ming was really hesitant. He just kissed her, and now he wants to chase another woman. This kind of rubbish, Yang Ming really couldn't do it. Why do you care about me? Hurry up and chase after Chen Mengyan. Zhao Ying said angrily, "There is nothing between us. Just explain to her." Then, Yang Ming was still hesitant. "I am really scared of you." Zhao Ying said helplessly, "Let's go. I will go with you and help you explain." Chapter 630. Seeing that Zhao Ying not only wasn't angry with him, but also wanted to help him explain, Yang Ming felt a little embarrassed. He looked at Zhao Ying gratefully, then nodded. The two people quickly separated the crowd and chased in the direction where Chen Mengyan left. "Mengyan!" Yang Ming shouted loudly. Chen Mengyan's pace wasn't very fast. After all, she was a girl, and she was sad. Her vision was a little blurred from crying, so Yang Ming didn't chase for long before he caught up with Chen Mengyan. He didn't know if she heard Yang Ming's call. Anyway, Chen Mengyan lowered her head and ignored Yang Ming. "Mengyan, you wait." Yang Ming quickly ran 2 steps and stopped in front of Chen Mengyan. Get out of the way. Chen Mengyan glanced at Yang Ming and said. You heard. Mengyan. Yang Ming quickly said, in fact, things aren't like what you think, I don't want to listen. Bastard, you're chanting scriptures. Chen Mengyan covered her ears with her hands. At this time, Xiaoying also rushed over and persuaded Chen Mengyan, Mengyan, really, I have nothing to do with Yang Ming. It was just an accident, I saw it with my own eyes. How can it be fake? Chen Mengyan sneered and looked at Xiaoying. Xiaoying. You go away. I don't want to see you again. Chen Mengyan wouldn't be so impulsive, but at the moment, she was blinded by her feelings. Moreover, she didn't want to be polite to Xiaoying anymore. A woman who even stole other people's husband wasn't worthy of respect at all. Mengyan. Xiaoying smiled bitterly. Can you calm down first? I'm calm. Am I not calm down? I think I'm very calm. Chen Mengyan said hoarsely, Xiaoying, I don't want to see you again. As Chen Mengyan said, she was going to leave. Xiaoying quickly pulled her. Let go. You're a woman who steals other people's husband. Chen Mengyan pushed Xiaoying angrily, and Xiaoying staggered. Yang Ming reacted quickly and quickly held Xiaoying. Chen Mengyan took the opportunity to break away from Xiaoying's hand and left quickly. Chen Mengyan, you're too much. Yang Ming couldn't stand it and couldn't help but scold. If it weren't for my quick reaction, Xiaoying would have been pushed down by her. Really? You're blaming me because of her? Chen Mengyan turned around and smiled sadly. Tears streamed down her face. Then, she turned around and ran away quickly. Yang Ming. Mengyan is angry. Xiaoying quickly pulled Yang Ming and said, don't scold her. Besides, I didn't do anything. But, you can't push people indiscriminately when you're angry. Yang Ming also knew that Chen Mengyan was definitely angry now, but... Chen Mengyan's temper, when can she change it? Forget it. Yang Ming shook his head and said, don't worry about her first. Let her calm down and think about it herself, okay? Xiaoying saw that Yang Ming said so, and she couldn't say anything more. Xiaoying, I'm sorry. Mingyan's temper is a bit impatient. Yang Ming said apologetically. Impatient? I can help you cover it up this time, but next time, you can't have crooked thoughts again. Xiaoying snorted. Don't think that I didn't know what you were doing just now. This. Yang Ming said with some embarrassment, just now, weren't you the one who took the initiative to open your mouth first? Xiaoying was stunned. What did I open my mouth for? I wanted to talk to you, hey. Yang Ming's mouth was wide open. But, your tongue is moving too. Nonsense, your tongue doesn't move when you talk. Xiaoying said snappily. Ugh. Yang Ming broke into a sweat. It can't be, right? But that's fine too. Did he really make a mistake by mistake? However, if she wanted to talk before, then after that, wasn't Xiaoying very cooperative with me? Yang Ming glanced at Xiaoying and saw that her face was red. Could it be? Yang Ming secretly guessed Xiaoying's real thoughts, but he didn't dare to ask easily. Otherwise, who knew what strange excuses Xiaoying would find? Yang Ming, let's go back. Xiaoying sighed and said. Let me send you back. Yang Ming nodded. With such a thing happening, both of them didn't have the interest to continue shopping. After sending Xiaoying back to her residence, Yang Ming stopped a car and went directly to Fang Tian's place. There were 2 things to do when he went to Fang Tian's place. One was to prepare for tomorrow's trip together, and the other was to talk to Fong Tian about the stalker he encountered yesterday. As for the unlucky Wang Dogwang, he was sent to the hospital. It was said that he had a femoral fracture. He couldn't sit or stand for a while. He could only lie on the bed. You're here. Fong Tian glanced at Yang Ming and said indifferently. Old man Fong, you are finally back. Yang Ming didn't be polite. He sat on the chair and drank a sip of water and said, how was it? Was it fun to go abroad? Did you find a few foreign girls? Do you think I can still find girls at my age? Fong Tian glanced at Yang Ming and said, don't talk about these useless things. Are you ready? We will leave tonight. Isn't it tomorrow? Asked Yang Ming. After 12 o'clock, it will be tomorrow. Fong Tian said, go early and come back early. Okay, no problem. Yang Ming had nothing else to do, so he nodded readily. This was his first mission, and he couldn't help but be very excited. This is the target's information. You should familiarize yourself with it as soon as possible. After writing it down, destroy it directly. As Fong Tian said this, he took out a document report from a pile of broken newspapers and handed it to Yang Ming. It's best not to carry this kind of thing with you. Yang Ming nodded. As a qualified assassin, he wouldn't carry the target's file with him all the time. In that case, if he was captured, it would be difficult to get away with evidence on him. After receiving the information, Yang Ming didn't dare to be careless and looked at it seriously. Dorsk, it might be a pseudonym, but he had been using this name since his debut. Birthplace unknown, age unknown. One of the world's biggest drug lords, active in South Africa and Europe. Although the information was very little, there were a lot of photos. After Yang Ming wrote down his appearance, he nodded and said to Fong Tian, I have written it down. Burn it if you have written it down. Fong Tian took back the information in Yang Ming's hand and threw it into the stove. According to reliable sources, the target will attend a private party on a luxury ship. What we have to do is to get on the ship and wait for the opportunity to make a move. After we succeed, we should get away as soon as possible because this Dorsk has a deep background in the local area. Don't create unnecessary problems. Who wants to kill him? Yang Ming frowned. It also required courage to find an assassin to kill a big drug lord. A temporary government of an African country, and Dorsk is a sworn enemy. Fong Tian said faintly. Oh. Yang Ming didn't understand this. Killing a drug lord actually involved a temporary government. But this didn't matter. Since Fong Tian felt that this matter could be done, then it could be done. Yang Ming just did what Fong Tian said. However, for the first mission, Yang Ming couldn't help but ask, but old man Fong, is there a bounty for this mission? No. Fong Tian shook his head. Ah. Yang Ming was surprised. Damn, it can't be, right? For free. I just wanted to practice for you, so I took this mission. Fong Tian snorted. Such a simple mission is not worth the king of assassins. But since it's your first time, I will find you a simpler one. So that's the case. Yang Ming nodded and said reluctantly, but why do I feel like I'm at a disadvantage? Oh, the temporary government promised. After the mission is done, they will give me a diamond mine. If you can sell it, try it. Fong Tian thought about it and finally thought of this matter, then he said indifferently. What? Diamond mine. Yang Ming was shocked and opened his mouth wide. It can't be, right? It's a waste if we don't take this thing. Won't we be rich if we get a mine? Do you think that every diamond mine can produce diamonds? Even if it can be produced, it will be divided into several parts. Fong Tian said indifferently, many mines may be dead mines, or there will be no more after a few diamonds are opened. What's the point of wasting so much energy? Besides, who would go to such a deserted place? Yang Ming was speechless. This Fong Tian looks so poor. Why is he so arrogant? He doesn't want the diamond mine. He doesn't want it, but I want it. Whether it's a dead mine or not, wouldn't I know at a glance? As for the amount of diamonds, wasn't it just a matter of a glance? Chapter 631. For Fong Tian, this mine might be no different from trash, but it was different in Yang Ming's hands. Do you want us to pick a mine randomly, or do you want us to pick a specific one? Asked Yang Ming. Just pick randomly, but can you understand it? Asked Fong Tian, baffled. I have a friend who can understand it. Yang Ming naturally couldn't tell Fong Tian about his own matters, but he could tell others about Lan Ling's sixth sense. This wasn't a secret. In Yunnan, because Lan Ling's father took her to gamble, many people knew that Lan Ling's sixth sense was very accurate. She knows how to read this. Fong Tian said, really? Do you know people in this field? She doesn't know how to read this, but her sixth sense is particularly accurate. Yang Ming smiled and said, she has a Grandpa Zhua. You should know him, right? Grandpa Zhua. Fong Tian frowned. This surname was very rare. Among the people he knew, there was only one with this surname. Are you talking about Senior Zhua of Yunnan's Miaojiang? It should be. Yang Ming nodded and said, the Grand Master once saved his life. That is undoubtedly Senior Zhua, said Fong Tian. Is your friend his grandson or granddaughter? No, my friend is the granddaughter of the Miaojiang's leader. Yang Ming explained. Your little girlfriend. Fong Tian glanced at Yang Ming. Hee hee. Yang Ming laughed twice. I have arranged a marriage for you. Fong Tian suddenly said. What? Arranged marriage. Yang Ming looked at Fong Tian in amazement. Old man, what kind of international joke are you making? You arranged a marriage for me. I'm not making international jokes, but this marriage is international. Fong Tian was rarely humorous, but this humor was a bit too cold. Old man Fong, although you are my master, how can you treat marriage as a joke? Besides, I already have a girlfriend. Aren't you adding trouble to me? Yang Ming looked at Fong Tian's serious look. He was annoyed and amused. Besides, how old am I? You arranged a marriage for me. Oh, the engagement doesn't affect your girlfriend. It doesn't matter. Fong Tian said, this is the old rule. The marriage of the King of Assassins was arranged by my master. Then why don't you get engaged? Asked Yang Ming. My situation is special. Fong Tian. Since you haven't gotten engaged, then let's talk about this later. Yang Ming wasn't willing to get engaged with someone he didn't know, let alone an international marriage. Could it be that he was going to marry a foreign woman? Fong Tian wasn't in a hurry anyway. He just casually mentioned this to Yang Ming. Oh yeah, I met a guy at the temple fair yesterday. He looked ordinary, but his skills were good. He seemed to recognize my acupoint sealing technique and asked me about my relationship with you. Yang Ming remembered the person he met at the temple fair yesterday, so he told Fong Tian about how the person followed him and was restrained by him. Oh. Fong Tian hesitated and asked, what was the person's accent? How should I say it? His Mandarin was very standard, but he was definitely not a local. Yang Ming thought about it. This person seemed to have put on makeup to make people feel that he was ordinary. It was easy to ignore him in the crowd. As for his skills, I didn't test it. Because he was directly restrained by me, he couldn't perform. That day, who was with you? Fong Tian nodded and asked. Me, my girlfriend, Chen Mengyan, and 2 friends. Yang Ming said. What friends? What are their names? Fong Tian seemed to be very interested in the two people. One is called Wang Xiaoyan, and the other is called Li Xuan. Yang Ming said, what's wrong? Oh. After Fong Tian heard it, he nodded thoughtfully. Then he smiled and said to himself, so that's the case. What's the case? Yang Ming asked, baffled. Nothing. I know about this. You don't have to worry about it. Fong Tian waved his hand and said, don't worry. He won't do anything bad to you, and he doesn't seem to be your opponent, hee. Oh. Yang Ming saw that Fong Tian didn't want to say more, so he didn't ask any more. Anyway, it didn't have much to do with him. Yang Ming went home and packed his luggage. He said goodbye to his parents and said that he was going to work on the jewelry company's business. His parents didn't suspect anything. In fact, Yang Ming couldn't be considered as lying. After all, he had a diamond mine. It could be considered as working for the jewelry company. Originally, he wanted to say goodbye to Qin Mengyan before leaving. However, because of the misunderstanding with Qin Mengyan, Yang Ming hesitated and decided to forget about it. He would talk to her after he came back. Before leaving, he went to Lin Jian's place. Anyway, it was close to Fong Tian's house. He told Lin Jian to look for Ho Zhenhan if she had anything. He believed that in Songjiang, there were very few things that Ho Zhenhan couldn't do. As for old Buffon, Yang Ming called him and told him that he was going out. Although old Buffon was very regretful, he also knew that a master like Yang Ming often traveled around the world. However, what made him happy was that Yang Ming promised to accept him as a disciple, but he could only teach him some ordinary martial arts. Even so, old Buffon was already very happy. He also knew that at his age, it was basically impossible for him to cultivate a peerless martial art. At 3:00 in the morning, after Fong Tian received a phone call, he said to Yang Ming, "Are you ready? Let's go now." Yang Ming nodded. He was very excited and nervous. Taking advantage of the night, Fong Tian took Yang Ming to the side of a cargo port on the coast of Songjiang. It wasn't far from Yang Dashan's original battlefield. On the sea, there were boats passing by in twos and threes, emitting little lights. "Come up." Fong Tian pointed to an open container and said faintly, "We are going in here." Yang Ming looked at the direction that Fong Tian pointed. It was a large container that was enough to accommodate dozens of people. "Yes." Fong Tian nodded, then opened the container and said, "Someone will come to load the ship in a while. We are going to transfer here to Europe. This is smuggling." Yang Ming scratched his head. He looked inside the container. There was nothing, it was bare. From here, it would take a few days to reach Europe, right? He had to stay in this container for a long time. Yang Ming was helpless when he thought about it, but there was no other way. He gritted his teeth and went in. Fong Tian greeted a man in black not far from the container. The man nodded and made an "okay" gesture. After Fong Tian came in, the man in black closed the container with a clanged sound. "Do you feel okay? There is no electricity here. We have to spend a few days in the dark." Fong Tian said plainly, "As an assassin, you should also train to adapt to the dark." In the dark, Yang Ming didn't have any discomfort. Because of the special ability of his eyes, Yang Ming could see things as if it was daytime. Therefore, the training in this aspect could almost be ignored. "Old man, I was born with good eyesight. I can see very clearly here." Yang Ming smiled. "Really? How many is this?" Fong Tian extended 4 fingers. 4, but now it has become 3. Yang Ming said. Because Fong Tian's hand immediately retracted a finger after Yang Ming said 4. Your eyesight is not bad. Fong Tian nodded with satisfaction. Even without training, you are better than me, who is professionally trained. Is there a cushion or something like that? The ground is a bit too hard. Yang Ming pointed at his feet and said, how do I sleep? Just sleep like this. Fong Tian said with a blank expression, a qualified assassin needs to adapt to the environment, not to change the environment. Okay. Yang Ming waved his hand and said, you are so long-winded. Old man, I got it. Go to sleep. Starting tomorrow, I will train you. Fong Tian threw his backpack aside and then lay on the ground. After a long time, Yang Ming felt that the container began to move. He raised his eyes and looked outside. The container was lifted up by a crane and then placed on a worn-out cargo ship. Yang Ming's container was pressed down by many different containers. Yang Ming was secretly shocked when he saw this. If there was an accident on this ship, Fong Tian and I couldn't escape even if we wanted to. But since we are here, let's take it as it is. Since it had become a fact, there was no other use to worry. With a muffled whistle, the freighter slowly moved. Yang Ming closed his eyes and soon fell asleep. There was no light or sunlight in the container. It was always dark. Chapter 632. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Ming was woken up by Fong Tian. Wake up, kid. Today's training has started. Fong Tian roared in Yang Ming's ear. Yang Ming opened his eyes and looked at the sky outside through the container. Sure enough, the sun was shining brightly. Looking at the position of the sun, it should be around 9:00 in the morning. Yang Ming sat up and asked, when will we arrive? I'm not sure. I don't know how this ship's route is arranged, but naturally, someone will get us out when we arrive. Fong Tian opened his backpack and took out a pack of compressed biscuits. He threw it to Yang Ming. Eat some. Oh. Yang Ming took the compressed biscuit and opened it to eat. Yang Ming had long known that he would need to eat this in the next few days. Although he was mentally prepared, when he really ate it, he understood how bad it was. This was different from the compressed biscuits sold in the supermarket. The compressed biscuits in the supermarket were popular and the taste was good. However, Fong Tian's compressed biscuits were specially made from an unknown source. Not only was it bad, but it was also as hard as a rock. The only advantage was that it could resist hunger. After Yang Ming ate 2 pieces, he felt full. The biscuits that he ate were stuffed to the brim in his stomach as if they were foaming agent. After drinking the mineral water that Fong Tian handed over, Yang Ming nodded and said, I'm done. Okay, let's start the special training. Fong Tian stood up. How is the special training? Asked Yang Ming. You hit me, then I hit you. Fong Tian said word by word. Yang Ming was speechless. Is this also considered training? Isn't this sparring? Yang Ming and Fong Tian had sparred more than once. Although he could withstand a few moves, he still lost to Fong Tian in the end. Yang Ming also knew that although he had worked very hard, the gap between him and Fong Tian was a few decades. He couldn't catch up overnight. Therefore, the only thing Yang Ming did in the container every day was to spar with Fong Tian, then eat and sleep. Although the excrement of both of them was packed in sealed bags, it was inevitable that some strange smell would be emitted. After a few days, the smell in the container was very bad. Moreover, something that shocked Yang Ming happened in the middle of it. One night, there was a harsh alarm sound on the calm sea. Yang Ming and Fong Tian opened their eyes at the same time. Yang Ming looked outside and saw two patrol warships from an unknown country approaching the cargo ship. What should we do? Yang Ming glanced at Fong Tian and asked, "It seems that someone is coming to check the ship." Oh. Fong Tian looked at the watch on his hand and stretched lazily. He said indifferently, "Investigate." "How of them?" "Move the container down." Yang Ming had already seen the situation outside. Although the two small warships had guns and cannons, there was no crane. It was a bit difficult to check the ship. "Don't worry about it." Fong Tian said faintly, "It may be the coast guard of a small country that wants to get some income." After that, he closed his eyes and continued to sleep. Sure enough, after Yang Ming saw the two warships close to his side of the cargo ship, an officer with a big nose said something to the sailor. Then the sailor also said something to the big nose in the same language and made a few gestures. After a while, another sailor came over with 2 bundles of US dollars in his hand and threw them to the big nose. After the big nose took it, he flipped the inside of the banknotes with his fingers and then nodded with satisfaction. After a few words to the other officers behind him, the two warships left. The few sailors on his side of the cargo ship also returned to the cabin one after another. They didn't look panicked at all. It seemed that they had experienced this kind of thing, so they were used to it. They didn't take it seriously at all. Looking at the appearance of the people on the warships, Yang Ming also knew that here was not far from the destination. After a few hours, the ship finally docked at a dock. Oh, it wasn't a dock because Yang Ming saw another giant cargo ship. The small cargo ship that they were on was docked beside another giant cargo ship. The crane on the giant cargo ship lifted the containers on the small cargo ship one by one and placed them on the deck. When the crane lifted the box that Yang Ming and Fong Tian were in, it paused obviously. Then, the speed became very slow and steady. It placed the box alone in another place. After the box landed, a foreign fat man rushed over with a few sailors and then ordered the sailors to quickly open the container. "Oh, God, what is this smell?" The fat man complained in broken Chinese. "Hozik, you are still so fat. It seems that your weight loss plan has failed." Fong Tian smiled and greeted him. "Dear Fong, I finally see you again. My good brother, I thought I would never see you again." Hozik directly gave Fong Tian a bear hug. "Don't lose me. I can't die even if you die." Fong Tian pushed the guy in front of him away and then gasped, "You dead fat man, you are crushing me." "Ha, I found that my appetite has increased again, so I am so fat." "Sorry." Hozik shook his head. "Let me introduce you. This is my nephew." Fong Tian pointed to Yang Ming. "Hello, little guy. You are really more handsome than this uncle." As Hozik said this, he gave Yang Ming a bear hug again. Yang Ming couldn't avoid it, so he had to let him hug him. Who knew where this guy learned this damn etiquette from? "Is everything ready?" Fong Tian asked Hozik. "Don't worry. I will naturally do the thing that you, an old friend, asked me to do." Hozik said casually, "You can be more relaxed for the next route. You don't have to stay in that damn container anymore." "Well, then I will go first. This time is tight. I will catch up with you another day." Fong Tian patted Hozik's shoulder and said, "Oh, well, I wanted to look for you for a drink." Hozik also understood Fong Tian's temper. He knew that if he said that he had something, then it definitely couldn't be delayed. "The plane is ready. It is on the deck over there. It will take you to Henry Resort Island." Hozik said, "The cruise ship you said will pass by Henry Resort Island in 2 days. This is your boarding card and identity document." As Hozik said this, he took a portfolio and handed it to Fong Tian. Then he said, of course, you can also get on the ship. This identity document and boarding card are just for emergencies. There is no problem with these two things. They can be used normally. It was done in my name, Hozik. If I use it, will it cause you any trouble? Fong Tian opened the portfolio and glanced at the documents. Then he asked with a smile. Ha! I'm not bragging. Who dares to find trouble with me, Hozik? Hozik laughed disdainfully. Fong, the question you asked is not a friend's question. I'm just kidding. Fong Tian waved his hand. Don't worry. We will try not to use the boarding card to board the ship. Up to you. Hozik shrugged and said, I wish you good luck. With Fong Tian and Yang Ming, Hozik boarded a private jet on the deck. Hozik waved goodbye to Fong Tian on the side. The plane slowly took off and headed for Henry Island. Henry Island didn't belong to any country. It was a private island. The Henry family was a declining aristocrat. They used their last family property to buy this island. Of course, without their aristocratic identity, this island couldn't be bought easily. After that, the Henry family had been managing the island into a vacation place for the rich. After a few decades, this place had a small reputation in Europe. On the island, there were casinos, luxury hotels, and entertainment venues. Many rich people enjoyed this place. What does this Hozik do? After boarding the plane, Yang Ming asked Fong Tian. He is an arms dealer. His background is very strong. He is the exclusive spokesperson of many munitions factories. The local government has to be courteous to him. Fong Tian introduced, but he is very loyal. His relationship with me is very close. Yang Ming nodded. No wonder he was so arrogant just now. He said that whoever dares to find trouble with him. It seems that he is really not afraid that others will find trouble with him. A big drug lord died. Even if the local government was suspicious, they wouldn't do anything to him, the arms dealer. It was clear at a glance who was more important. In the future, I will slowly hand over my relationship to you. While you accept my network, you have to try to make some friends. Fong Tian said to Yang Ming. Chapter 633. The plane was parked at the private parking lot of Henry Island. Obviously, many people here knew this plane and ran over eagerly. It seemed that Hozik's influence was still great. Yang Ming and Fong Tian were now a pair of father and son who traveled here from the Middle East. They were also Hozik's big customers. The staff of Henry Island naturally didn't dare to offend them. They directly arranged the best room for them and gave them delicious food. The two of them had a big meal in the room and then had a good sleep. Tomorrow evening, the Alice cruise ship will dock at the dock of Henry Island for an hour. Fong Tian looked at the information in his hand and said, what you have to do is to use this 1 hour to get on the ship and kill the target. Okay. Yang Ming nodded. What if this guy is with others? Lead him away. Fong Tian said with a blank expression, or kill them together. Ugh. Yang Ming frowned and said, this isn't good, right? There is nothing good about it. You are an assassin. Sometimes in order to protect yourself, you have to do something ruthless. Fong Tian looked at Yang Ming and said, if one day I want to betray you, you have to kill me without hesitation. I can't do it. Yang Ming shook his head and said bitterly. AI. Fong Tian sighed. I know you are a soft-hearted person. This is your strength and also your weakness. Well, I will act according to the circumstances tomorrow. Yang Ming said. The night of Henry Island was a paradise for the rich. On the entire island, there were songs and dances. Many high-class prostitutes were wandering around, waiting for those rich guests to spend a lot of money for them. Yang Ming and Fang Tian rested early. Both of them were not in the mood to enjoy all this. Fang Tian was indifferent to these, but Yang Ming felt very melancholy because of what Fang Tian said to him just now. However, in order not to attract the attention of others, sometimes it was still necessary to put on an act. The next day, Yang Ming and Fang Tian appeared in the casino on time. Hozik had asked them to prepare the bargaining chips for them. Both of them took some to place separately. Although Yang Ming could use his special ability to cheat most of the time, he didn't do so. He just kept himself in a state where he didn't lose or earn. However, even if this was the case, it wasn't easy. After spending the morning, Yang Ming and Fang Tian had a meal in the restaurant in the casino at noon. Because the two people were silent, the waiter thought that it was because they didn't speak the same language. In the afternoon, Yang Ming and Fang Tian came to the seaside. While they were basking in the sun, they ordered some seafood barbecue and drank some draft beer. They really looked like a pair of father and son who were here for a vacation. Calm. When he was walking, Yang Ming was also floating. Apparently, he was also drunk. After returning to the room, Fang Tian fell on the bed. Yang Ming also said that he wanted to sleep. He asked the waiter not to disturb them again. The waiter nodded and left the room. Then, he hung a "Rest, do not disturb" sign at the door. After the waiter left, Yang Ming and Fang Tian immediately woke up like ordinary people. There were no traces of drunkenness. Get ready. There are still 2 hours. Fang Tian looked at his watch and said, "Everything is ready. We are just waiting for the Alice to dock." Yang Ming took a deep breath. Although it wasn't the first time he killed someone, his previous killings were justified self-defense. This time, he was actually going to kill a person. Although this person was guilty of a heinous crime and deserved to die. But Yang Ming was still a little nervous. Relax. Don't be nervous. Fang Tian saw that Yang Ming's current mood was a little chaotic, so he comforted him. I know. Yang Ming nodded. At 7:00 in the evening, the huge Alice cruise ship was anchored at the harbor of Henry Island. The Alice was currently one of the largest luxury cruise ships in the world. It weighed 145,000 tons. It was as big as 5 Titanics. It could accommodate 3,000 tourists. It also had an airport that could take off and land ordinary commercial aircraft, 3,500 ordinary rooms, and 1,200 luxury rooms. There were hospitals, restaurants, cinemas, and even a small theme park. It was a real, floating city. In addition to the huge size, the Alice also reflected the extreme luxury. The central hall was 7 stories high. Other modern facilities included a cigar club, a wedding church, a duty-free shop street, and so on. The cruise ship also prepared a variety of luxurious exercise facilities for people who needed to burn calories. On the top rooftop of the cruise ship, there was a climbing wall more than 10 meters high. Every passenger could get a free climbing opportunity here. The Alice also put a set of very advanced artificial surfing equipment on the ship, which could create very perfect waves. Many surfers could do a variety of difficult moves in this small range of a few meters. Surfing here, you didn't have to be afraid of the waves hitting you to the bottom. In front of the Alice, most ships could only be said to be a small sampan. Back then, the Titanic weighed only 46,000 tons. These were to reflect the luxury of the Alice. At this time of the year, the owner of the Alice would invite business tycoons, celebrities, and movie stars from all over the world to gather on the Alice for free. Why did they do this? It seemed to be a very loss-making business, but in fact, it was not. After these elites from all walks of life returned, they were free-living advertisements. Under their publicity, the annual income of the Alice was thriving and increased sharply every year. Henry Island was also one of the important docks. Every year, many rich people boarded here, and then the Alice would continue to sail. After a week around the world, it would repass every docked place. The whole cycle took about 3 months. Of course, if someone had something to do, they could also take the plane on the ship back first. Yang Ming looked at the boarding card in his hand. The strength of this Hozik could be imagined. In such a grand celebrity convention, Hozik actually got the boarding card for 2 people. It was really not easy. Yang Ming and Fang Tian actually changed and became oil tycoons of a Middle Eastern emirate. It was ridiculous. However, all of this was real. When a person's power and influence reached an amazing limit, there were few things in this world that he couldn't do. Yang Ming was very surprised how Fang Tian knew Hozik, and it seemed that the relationship between the 2 people was good. Old man, if Hozik wants to kill Dorsk, will it be as troublesome as us? Yang Ming suddenly wanted to ask this question. No, he can take a gun and kill Dorsk directly, and then there won't be any trouble. Fang Tian said faintly, no matter how strong Dorsk's background is, in front of Hozik, he is nothing. Oh, then why don't you let Hozik help us kill Dorsk? After Yang Ming asked this question, he knew that he had asked a very stupid question. If it wasn't for you to practice, this kind of person isn't worth it for me to come here. Fang Tian snorted. Dorsk might be a powerful figure, but in the eyes of Hozik and even Fang Tian, he wasn't even as good as an ant. What did this mean? This was strength, whether it was the strength on the surface or the strength in the dark. As long as one was strong enough, one wouldn't be trampled on. Thinking of Dorsk, Yang Ming couldn't help but association with Wang Shifan. They were destined to be tragic figures. It's almost time. Fang Tian looked at his watch and then pointed to his ear. Wireless headphones, keep in touch at all times. Don't worry. Master. Yang Ming nodded solemnly. Unlike his previous playful look in front of Fang Tian, his address to Fang Tian had also changed to Master. For the first mission, Yang Ming still attached great importance to it. Make it quick. With your strength, it's still very easy to kill Dorsk. Fang Tian smiled. I wish you good luck. Yang Ming smiled to comfort himself, then he opened the window of the room and jumped out nimbly. Fang Tian picked up the binoculars and looked in the direction of the sea. Fang Tian shook his head. Yang Ming's heart is a bit too soft. I don't know if this mission can be successful. Chapter 634. In order to facilitate the operation, Yang Ming and Fang Tian chose a room on the first floor. Opening the window, Yang Ming could easily do things outside. Although the second and third floors were not difficult for Yang Ming, it was easy to be discovered by others when he climbed down. It was not as convenient as the first floor. Looking at Yang Ming's figure that was hidden in the woods, Fang Tian nodded with satisfaction. This kid's comprehension and ability are not bad. I didn't choose the wrong apprentice. Even Yang Ming's kindness could be regarded as a merit. Fang Tian didn't want his apprentice to become a murderous person. However, when it jeopardized his own interests, Fang Tian also hoped that Yang Ming's heart could be hardened. Yang Ming chose a beach far from the dock, then he dived into the sea with a special curved straw in his mouth and swam to the Alice. Although Yang Ming could board the ship legitimately with the boarding card, he would definitely leave a record. If he disappeared after boarding the ship, then when the murder case came out, it was obvious that he would become the key suspect. In this way, it would definitely bring some trouble to Hozik. Although Hozik said that he wasn't afraid of trouble, Yang Ming didn't want to do this. The first mission was also a test for himself. If everything was well prepared and he could easily kill the target, then what was the point of it? Therefore, Yang Ming still chose the most conventional way. He and Fang Tian pretended to drink too much and went back to the room to rest. The waiter could prove this. After they returned to the room, they never came out again. Then, Yang Ming chose to leave the room from the window and board the ship by swimming in the sea. In this way, he could fake proof that he was not present. Although if someone wanted to investigate, they could definitely find some clues, who would dare to investigate Hozik's guest? Unless they had conclusive evidence. But then again, even if they had conclusive evidence, they had to think twice before investigating Hozik's people. Moreover, the dead person was just a big drug lord. No matter how strong his relationship was, the nature of his profession was there. No one would stick up for a dead person. Perhaps Dorsk's death might touch the interests of some people, which made them very upset. However, since the interests had been lost, it was obviously unwise to offend another strong character. What's more, Yang Ming would not leave any evidence at all. In this way, the entire assassination process was much safer. Yang Ming needed to find Dorsk's location himself because the position of a person on the ship was particularly arbitrary. It was impossible to be fixed in a certain position. This was a very challenging and difficult figure for other assassins. Whether you were an experienced assassin or a fledgling assassin, you couldn't predict the position of the target now. This was also a test that Fang Tian gave to Yang Ming, a test of Yang Ming's ability to adapt. However, for Yang Ming didn't have any difficulty. Finding people was Yang Ming's strength. As long as he hid in a corner, he could use his special ability to scan the situation in the entire cabin. Soon, he could find Dorsk. This was one of the advantages of Yang Ming, an advantage that he had over any assassin. Yang Ming chose to board the ship from the deck facing away from the dock. This was the landing strip for private planes. At this time, no one was here. This was also Yang Ming's detection. He found that there was no one here, so he swam here to board the ship. On the side of the ship, there was no place to put his hand, but Yang Ming had put a special suction cup on his hand. He could easily adhere to the surface of the metal with a little water. Therefore, Yang Ming easily climbed to the deck of the cruise ship and hid directly behind a seaplane. Although Yang Ming had used his special ability to investigate, there were no suspicious people nearby, but for safety, Yang Ming still hid. Yang Ming looked at the watch on his hand. It was now 7:20. He still had 40 minutes. The Alice would set sail at 8:00 and leave the dock at Henry Road, so he had to finish the battle before 8:00. Dorsk was an extremely arrogant person, but he also had the capital to be arrogant. Although he couldn't be compared with Hozik, his status on this cruise ship was already very high. Most entrepreneurs knew his identity behind the scenes. They wouldn't easily go against this person. For his arrogance, they would tolerate it. However, in this way, Dorsk was even more unscrupulous in doing things. However, today, Dorsk was very annoyed. Yes, he was unusually annoyed. Ever since he boarded the Alice, no one had dared to disrespect him. Every day, Dorsk lived a carefree life under the compliments and flattery of others. Every night, some Hollywood female stars took the initiative to accompany him, which made Dorsk feel very comfortable. The pinnacle of power was just like this. Looking back at the politicians and businessmen who pretended to be serious, they were actually not much better than him, but they pretended to be serious. They wanted to sleep with women, but they were still hiding it. Dorsk's desire was extremely inflated. He thought that he was a local emperor, a king who could do whatever he wanted. However, today, he encountered a very humiliating thing. The women that he liked, which one of them didn't take the initiative to throw themselves into his arms? Regardless of whether you were a pure and innocent girl outside or a movie star, in his own bed, there was no difference between you and those high-class prostitutes. The women who slept with Dorsk could get a huge check. This money was enough for these people to work for a year or even a few years. So, how could those women not flock to him? Sometimes, at night, there would even be 2, 3, or even 4 women in Dorsk's bed at the same time. Dorsk didn't refuse any of them, and he was happy to do so. In his opinion, as long as he hooked his little finger, the beautiful women on the ship could line up and wait for him to choose. However, all of this was destroyed by a hateful woman. This was what Dorsk couldn't tolerate. Is this Hong Kong star very badass? She actually rejected me in public. Dorsk couldn't help but become angry. This was a challenge to his dignity and his authority. If everyone imitated her, then he didn't need to mingle. Although this star was a little famous, and her father was also a businessman, in Dorsk's eyes, that level of small businessman was like an ant. He didn't need to put them in his eyes at all. Things were like this. Today, Dorsk was invited by a Japanese friend and condescended to attend an Oriental dance party. In his opinion, his identity as a Caucasian was incomparably noble. Condescending to attend a colored ball was already giving him enough face. If it weren't for the Japanese man's flattery, saying that he was the most awesome person in the world, Dorsk would not have gone to this dance party. The Japanese man was the leader of a certain extreme organization. He was going to do some white powder business with Dorsk, so he was bowing to him. As soon as Dorsk came to the dance party, he found many famous actresses to accompany this old pervert. The feeling of being surrounded by stars made Dorsk feel very refreshed, and his mood was very comfortable. He hugged the 2 actresses and began to move his hands up and down unscrupulously. These 2 actresses had been instructed by the Japanese man, and they were very cooperative with Dorsk. However, when Dorsk saw another girl who was as beautiful as a celestial being, he immediately felt that the 2 actresses in his arms were 2 piles of dung. Dorsk's eyes were straight. Yes, this girl was too beautiful. Mixing in the flowers every day had made Dorsk's taste very tricky. Usually, there were very few women who could enter his eyes, let alone someone who could make his heart move. He hadn't wanted a woman so much for a long time. Yes, this long-lost desire made Dorsk very excited. Although he did mechanical exercises in bed every day, it was only to vent his desire. There hadn't been a woman who could make his heart move like this for a long time. Dorsk immediately let go of the woman in his hand. The only thing left in his eyes was the Oriental girl. He walked towards the girl with what he thought was a very gentlemanly and elegant pace. He wanted to get her into bed and make her his subject. This was Dorsk's only thought. There was no woman that Dorsk couldn't get if he wanted to. Therefore, he wasn't worried about being rejected. There was nothing that Dorsk couldn't do. He had this confidence. As for the Japanese team leader, when he saw Dorsk suddenly walking in one direction, he quickly followed him. In his opinion, Dorsk was his god of fortune. Chapter 635. Beautiful lady, please allow me to dance with you. Dorsk said to Shuya in what he thought was the most elegant posture. Shuya accompanied her father to attend the party on the Alice. In other words, her father used Shuya's fame to attend this party. Although Shuya's father, Shu Haikwa, was also a very powerful boss in Hong Kong with a lot of money. But there were more than 1 or 2 rich people in the world. In a small place like Hong Kong, Shu Haikwa was a very important figure. But looking at the world, it was really nothing. Most of the rich people were concentrated in economically developed places like Europe and the United States. Therefore, it could be said that Shu Haikwa was barely qualified to attend this party. But his daughter, Shuya, could. Shuya was a popular little queen in Hong Kong, Taiwan, mainland, Singapore, and Malaysia. Of course, she was qualified to attend this party. Originally, Shuya didn't like to attend this kind of party, but she couldn't stand her father's coaxing and pestering. She reluctantly attended this party. At this kind of party, those other stars were looking for relationships and money, but Shuya didn't need these. She was already popular enough, and she wasn't short of money. Her own income was already a lot, and the money at home was more than enough to spend. Shuya wasn't greedy. As long as she had enough to spend, it was fine. Moreover, Shuya had a concert tour after the new year, so she couldn't stay on the Alice for long before she had to fly back to Hong Kong. Today, she was just accompanying her father to meet a few old friends. Shuya, who was standing next to her father, suddenly saw a Caucasian man coming to this side. Although Shuya didn't know what he was going to do, she still nodded to him politely. When Dorsk reached out and invited Shuya to dance, Shuya politely refused. Shuya wasn't used to this occasion, and she wasn't an escort. However, Shuya's refusal made Dorsk feel very proud. His face immediately changed. He said a few words to the Japanese team leader next to him, and then the Japanese team leader immediately said to Shuya, "This is Mr. Dorsk. He asked you to dance. It is your honor." "I'm sorry. I don't know him, and I can't dance." Shuya frowned and said faintly. She had tried her best to be polite. If it was Hong Kong, Shuya would turn around and leave. Shuya had never heard of Dorsk, but Shu Haikwa had heard of it. When he heard the Japanese team leader say the name of Dorsk, his expression was obviously stagnant. He immediately said, "Hello, Mr. Dorsk. This is my daughter. She came out with me to attend the party. She is not very used to this kind of occasion. Please forgive her." English was the official language of Hong Kong. Shu Haikwa and the Japanese team leader both used English. Dorsk should be able to understand. "Shu Haikwa, I know you." The Japanese team leader sneered after listening. "I know your daughter." As for Shuya, who doesn't know her? Not used to this kind of situation. Who are you trying to fool? You want to pretend to be pure when you're a celebrity. Let me tell you, how many female stars want to spend a night with Mr. Dorsk, but they don't even have a chance. Don't be so shameless. If you know what's good for you, then cooperate obediently. This guy was now trying to please Dorsk. His organization was only a small organization called the Tomorrow Group. It couldn't be compared with those large organizations. The supply of white powder was naturally very small. In order to open up a new supply, he worked very hard to find a relationship with Dorsk. As for Dorsk's request, he naturally tried to satisfy it. In his eyes, Shuya was just a relatively popular celebrity. In their country, no matter how pure the female star was outside, she was just a tool to accompany the guests here. So, he didn't put Shuya in his eyes at all. "Eagle Temple team leader, please respect yourself." Shu Haikwa frowned and said, "If you don't leave, I will call security." "Humph." Before the Eagle Temple team leader spoke, Dorsk snorted coldly. Then, he glared at Shu Haikwa fiercely and looked at Shuya lecherously. He said, "Let's wait and see." Although Dorsk thought that he was very badass, he didn't need to look at anyone's face when doing things. But this was the Alice after all. In other people's territory, he couldn't not give face to the owner. He wasn't so badass that he couldn't put the owner of the Alice in his eyes. Although the owner of the Alice, was just a woman, no one dared to underestimate the strength behind her. No one knew who was standing behind Alice, and no one knew what would happen if they provoked Alice. Because she was a terrifying existence. As for how terrifying, no one knew, but there was a rumor in the upper class. It was said that behind Alice, there might be the power of a country. Therefore, Dorsk chose to temporarily swallow his anger. Once the security came, he would lose even more face. It was better to leave first and make plans later. However, Dorsk also thought that although he didn't want to have any conflict with Alice, he felt that Alice wouldn't take the initiative to embarrass him. As long as he didn't embarrass her in front of the public, then she would mind her own business and mind her own business. Dorsk, who returned to the room, was very angry. He smashed several teacups in a row, and the Eagle Temple team leader said some very disgusting flattering words. That chick doesn't know how to appreciate favors. She actually didn't give you face. The Eagle Temple team leader said, she is simply tired of living. Humph. Damn, no matter what method I use, I must get her. Eagle Temple, do you have a good idea? Dorsk looked up at the Eagle Temple team leader. This is simple. Just catch her. If she doesn't obey, then just force it on her. Are you still afraid of her? The Eagle Temple team leader said disdainfully. Is it okay? Dorsk thought so in his heart, but he felt that it was necessary for him to pretend to be a gentleman. After all, he had never treated a woman like this before. She's just a celebrity. Her father is just a businessman in Hong Kong. On this, Alice, is there anyone who can do anything to you, the great Mr. Dorsk? The Eagle Temple team leader said, I think even if you kill someone, no one dares to do anything to you, right? Ha 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 ha. Dorsk laughed arrogantly. That's right. Have I, Dorsk, been afraid of anyone? That's fine. I will leave this matter to you. Damn, she actually dared to refute my face. I will teach her a lesson. Tonight, I will make her unable to get out of bed. Don't worry. Mr. Dorsk, leave this matter to me. The Eagle Temple team leader smiled slyly. He patted his chest and promised, I'm the best at doing this kind of thing. If you do this well, then I can consider giving you a part of the European and American quotas. Dorsk was in a good mood and made a promise. No problem. The Eagle Temple team leader said excitedly, Thank you, Mr. Dorsk. I will do this well. Then you go quickly. I can't wait for a moment. I can't wait to push her down on the bed and fuck her fiercely. Dorsk said lasciviously. Right, Mr. Dorsk, this is the best aphrodisiac in our country. The Eagle Temple team leader suddenly thought of something. Then, he took out a small bottle from his pocket and handed it to Dorsk. This medicine can greatly improve endurance. Although Mr. Dorsk is born with great strength, and it's not a problem for you to fuck her all night, if you take this medicine, your endurance can double, so you can teach that chick a lesson. The Eagle Temple team leader carried this kind of medicine with him. Obviously, he wasn't a good person. He was basically the same kind of person as Dorsk. Dorsk was very comfortable with the flattery of the Eagle Temple team leader. He gladly accepted the bottle of medicine and said, not bad. You are very clever. I like it very much. Don't worry. In your words, as long as you do it well, there will be great benefits. Hi. Thank you, Mr. Dorsk. The Eagle Temple team leader went out to do the job. Although Shu Haikwan knew that Dorsk and the Eagle Temple team leader weren't good people, they wouldn't cause any trouble on the Alice. When they returned to Hong Kong, it would be his territory. He wasn't afraid of them. Therefore, Shu Haikwa really didn't take this matter to heart. He didn't remind his daughter to guard against anything. It was also because of Shu Haikwa's carelessness that the Eagle Temple team leader took advantage of it. After Shuya accompanied her father to deal with his friends for a while, she planned to go back to her room to rest. She had to fly back to Hong Kong tomorrow, so she had to have a good sleep tonight. After Shuya said goodbye to her father, she went out of the banquet hall and walked to her room. Just as she was about to reach the room, two black-shirted macho men suddenly rushed out from the corner and walked quickly to Shuya. Chapter 636. You guys. Shuya just wanted to ask, but her mouth was blocked by a black-shirt macho man. Then another black-shirt macho man quickly took out a tape and directly sealed her mouth. Shuya looked at the two people in front of her in horror. She wanted to call for help, but she couldn't make any sound. In this way, she was carried by the two black-shirt macho men and walked in another direction. On this ship, which was known for its safety, she could still be hijacked. This made Shuya very puzzled. Every passenger on the ship, including the entourage they brought, had to undergo a detailed identity check and registration. Therefore, on this ship, there shouldn't be such a situation because everyone's identity was registered with the owner. However, such a thing still happened on this ship. It was hard for people to not think deeply about it. Shuya immediately thought about the purpose of these people. Seeking money. Seeking revenge. It seems that the possibility of seeking money is not high. The people who can board this ship are either rich or noble. If it is seeking revenge, who have I offended recently? Wait. Could it be the guy named Dorsk? As she was thinking about it, the answer to this question was revealed. What are you doing? A tourist on the ship passed by and saw the two black-shirt macho men holding Shuya. He quickly asked. We are working for Mr. Dorsk. If you don't want to die, shut up. The black-shirt macho man said to the tourist fiercely. When the tourist heard Dorsk's name, he immediately lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything. He walked away dejectedly. And Shuya, at this moment, also understood that the people who were sent to catch her were indeed Dorsk's people. Shuya was taken to a luxury private room. The Eagle Temple team leader was sitting in a chair. When he saw Shuya come in, he said with a sinister smile, Shuya, big star, aren't you awesome? You don't even give face to Mr. Dorsk? As he said this, the Eagle Temple team leader stood up and tore the tape on Shuya's mouth. Let me tell you. Mr. Dorsk will be here in a while. He will punish you well. He will make you scream in bed. Ha 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 ha. What you are doing is illegal. Shuya didn't know what to say. She also knew that this wasn't Hong Kong. No matter how tough she was, it was useless. Illegal? Ha! The Eagle Temple team leader seemed to have heard a big joke. He looked at Shuya mockingly. This is the Alice. I can tell you that Mr. Dorsk is the law. No one can go against his words. Aren't you afraid that the owner of the Alice will know about this? Shuya knew that today's matter might not end well, but she wouldn't give in so easily. The owner of the Alice, hee. The Eagle Temple team leader shook his head. Miss Alice and our Mr. Dorsk don't interfere with each other's business. She won't fall out with him because of a little star like you. Moreover, you have nothing to lose. I just want you to scream in bed for a night. Don't worry. Mr. Dorsk's ability is very strong. He will make you very happy, hee. You're shameless. Shuya was so angry at the Eagle Temple that her face turned red. Hee, you can say whatever you want. The Eagle Temple team leader looked at Shuya lecherously. TSK, you're really beautiful. If Mr. Dorsk didn't like you, I might be tempted. But it's okay. Don't worry. When Mr. Dorsk is tired of playing, brother will continue to serve you. Hee. Go to hell. Shuya glared at the Eagle Temple team leader and said fiercely. I won't die. Don't worry. But you have to be careful. Mr. Dorsk is very brave. Don't be killed by him. The Eagle Temple team leader turned and said to one of his men, you guys guard her. Don't let her run away. I will inform Mr. Dorsk that he can come and enjoy the feast. Yes, team leader. The black-shirt macho man said quickly. Dorsk didn't expect the Eagle Temple team leader to do things so quickly. It was only 6:00 in the afternoon. Good, efficient. However, although it wasn't time to sleep at night, he couldn't wait. The Eagle Temple team leader came to the suite with Dorsk. When Dorsk saw Shuya, his eyes suddenly lit up. You wait for me in the room outside the suite. Stay there for me. Dorsk hurriedly ordered. Okay, Mr. Dorsk. The Eagle Temple team leader nodded. Right, have you taken the medicine? After that, he looked at Shuya with a deep meaning. Oh, yes, take the medicine. Dorsk nodded and said, if you didn't remind me, I would have forgotten. You. Go and get some water for Mr. Dorsk. Forget it, there is no need. I will get it myself. As the Eagle Temple team leader said, he picked up the teacup and poured a cup of hot water for Dorsk. He handed it to Dorsk and said, Mr. Dorsk, please enjoy. Oh, okay. Dorsk took the teacup. After taking a piece of medicine, he returned the cup to the Eagle Temple team leader. Is this medicine really effective? Of course, this was invented by a scientist called 7 times a night. It is the latest aphrodisiac. It is very effective. But for a strong person like Mr. Dorsk, it can only be the icing on the cake, said the Eagle Temple team leader. Not bad, then you can go out. Dorsk nodded casually and accepted the flattery gladly. The Eagle Temple team leader took his men out of the room. Shuya had been tied to the bed with her hands tied behind her back. He wasn't afraid that she would run away. After the Eagle Temple team leader closed the door, Dorsk couldn't wait to take off his clothes. The effect of this medicine was really strong. Dorsk found that he had already begun to have a reaction. Ha, beauty, you are going to be mine soon. Dorsk said as he took off his clothes. You are really shameless. You disgusting white-skinned pig. Shuya looked at Dorsk, who was already naked. She was simply angry and ashamed. At this moment, she really regretted coming to this party held by the Alice. In Hong Kong, who dared to treat me like this? Although my father wasn't the richest person in Hong Kong, he was also a man of his word. Even those who mingled in the underworld didn't dare to mess with me. The boss of the entertainment company had to look at my face. Who dared to humiliate me like this? However, at this moment, the Dorsk in front of her didn't put her in his eyes at all. He didn't even put her father in his eyes. Shuya knew that any threat was useless to the person in front of her. It couldn't change the facts in front of her. Shuya really had an urge to cry. My chastity was actually destroyed in this situation. After mingling in the entertainment circle for so long, Shuya had always been clean. She didn't even have a boyfriend. Because, in the depths of her heart, there was another existence, the person she loved the most in this life. Shuya had always been looking forward to the day when she would see him again. Her first time must be his, however, this vision was going to be shattered today. My body was actually going to be ruined by such a disgusting white-skinned pig in front of me. Shuya really wanted to cry but had no tears. AI. Shuya sighed faintly. If I could have insisted on not coming to Hong Kong, I wouldn't have embarked on the path of the entertainment circle, right? There wouldn't be such a thing today, right? In that case, I should be very happy with that person, going to school and leaving school every day. At this age, I should be in college with him. I heard that college is a paradise for lovers, however, all of this was very far away from me. Shuya was desperate. She slowly closed her eyes, waiting for the upcoming humiliation. What would I do after that? Shuya didn't know. Maybe I would try my best to retaliate against the man in front of me. He destroyed my vision with his own hands. In the entertainment circle, although Shuya was clean, it was inevitable that her friends would talk about that aspect when they usually talked. Shuya was also a mature woman. Of course, she could understand what they were talking about. However, Shuya was luckier. With Shu Haikwa as her father, she didn't need to give up her body to get what she wanted. However, Shuya wasn't the only celebrity in this situation. One of Shuya's close friends was also the daughter of a consortium's boss. She was also a small celebrity, but she wasn't as famous as Shuya. However, her private life was chaotic enough. She had changed boyfriends for 20 to 30 times. She often told Shuya how comfortable and wonderful the thing between men and women was. She always encouraged Shuya to find a boyfriend to try. However, Shuya shook her head every time and said with a smile, "This kind of thing naturally has to be done with the person I love most. The person you love might be hugging another woman right now," this close friend of hers said. Chapter 637. However, Shuya smiled and didn't say anything. But in her heart, she had been longing for the sweetness with that person many times. The hazy and immature feelings in her childhood had been upgraded to love as Shuya grew older, true love. Although this situation was rare, Shuya was such a stubborn girl. She would never turn back once she set her mind on something. However, this beautiful memory was interrupted by Dorsk's obscene laughter. Dorsk had taken off all his clothes, leaving only a pair of shorts. Why didn't he take off his shorts? Because this involved a personal reason. Although Dorsk had sex every night, he felt very inferior. This was because his lower body was very short and not vigorous. It was like a little caterpillar. He couldn't be compared to those fierce men. Although the woman who had sex with him didn't dare to have any dissatisfaction, she had to pretend to be very satisfied. But the more it was like this, the more inferior Dorsk felt. This was a physical defect that couldn't be made up for. Therefore, Dorsk developed a habit. He wouldn't take off his shorts until the moment before he officially did something. "If you dare to come over again, I will bite my tongue and commit suicide." Shuya had no choice but to threaten him in the end. "If I die, I think Miss Alice can't just ignore it, right?" "Yes, but even if you die, what can you do? Where is this place?" "This is Henry Island. There is no law that can do anything to me. Old Henry and I are old acquaintances." What do you think he can do to me?" Dorsk sneered. "There is also Miss Alice. Do you think she will stick up for a dead person?" "You are right. No one will stick up for a dead person." A voice that was colder than Dorsk's came from behind him, which made him feel a little creeped out. Yang Ming didn't spend much effort to find Dorsk. What made Yang Ming surprised was that this guy was actually preparing to flirt with a woman. And he actually knew that woman. It turned out to be the big star, Shuya. Good heavens, what is this? Yang Ming didn't have much interest in the safety of the star, but this Shuya might have some secrets, so Yang Ming could save her. Now that Dorsk's exact location was found, the next thing was much easier. Yang Ming took off the waterproof suit on his body and then fixed his hair. He walked openly to Dorsk's room. There were 800 if not 1,000 passengers on this ship. It was impossible for everyone to know each other, so no one came out to question Yang Ming's identity. Moreover, Yang Ming's body had no water, but his hair was a little wet. However, it was like he had just swum or take a shower. There was nothing special about him. When he came to the door of the room where Dorsk was, Yang Ming used his special ability to check the situation inside. This was a luxury suite divided into 2 rooms, inside and outside. There were only 2 people, Dorsk and Shuya, in the inner room. Dorsk had begun to take off his pants, and Shuya was tied to the bed in horror. In the outer room, Yang Ming saw the Eagle Temple team leader and 2 black-shirted macho men. Obviously, these 3 people were outside to keep a lookout, so they weren't good people. These 4 people, in the eyes of Yang Ming, were already dead people. The door of the room was easily opened with a lily key, and Yang Ming walked in. Deradesica. The Eagle Temple team leader saw Yang Ming actually push the door and walked in directly. He subconsciously asked in Japanese. However, then he knew that Yang Ming might not understand, so he immediately asked in English, "Who are you?" "I'm here to take your life." As Yang Ming spoke, the Eagle Temple team leader widened his eyes and stared at Yang Ming. There was an iron nail between his eyebrows. Before the Eagle Temple team leader could speak, he fell to the ground. He didn't even know how he died. Although the 2 black-shirt macho men saw how the Eagle Temple team leader died, they didn't have a chance to say it. Because the 2 of them fell to the ground. Yang Ming wasn't willing to talk nonsense with such small fries. He held a pile of steel nails in his hand that he bought at the hardware store for 1 yuan. The highest realm of an assassin was that anything could be used as a murder weapon. Although Yang Ming hadn't reached this realm yet, he was almost there. He could easily take a person's life with just a few simple tools. The 3 watchdogs were easily disposed of. Yang Ming didn't even look at them because they were already dead. Yang Ming had this confidence. If he wanted to kill someone, it was impossible for them to survive under his hands. Yang Ming found that he had really changed a lot. He remembered that he had accidentally killed Ji Shuixing in the beginning. He actually felt uneasy for a long time because of it. But now, he didn't feel any discomfort. He didn't know if he was gradually becoming cold-blooded, but Yang Ming knew that the people he killed weren't worthy of sympathy because they were all people who deserved to die. If Yang Ming really wanted to kill an innocent person, Yang Ming really couldn't do it. Perhaps Dorsk was too arrogant. He didn't even lock the door of the inner room. Yang Ming didn't even use the Yuri key and directly opened the door. However, Dorsk did think so. Because in Dorsk's view, the Eagle Temple team leader was just a dog who had a favor to ask of him, so he would do his best to be a dog. When Yang Ming opened the door, he just heard Dorsk talking nonsense. Yang Ming found it funny. He couldn't help but reply to him coldly, "You are right. No one will stick up for a dead person. Similarly, no one will stick up for you tomorrow." Dorsk spoke in English, and Yang Ming answered him in English. Yang Ming was complacent about his speaking ability. It seemed that the strengthening training this time was still very effective. As an assassin, he had to learn many foreign languages. Under Fang Tian's coercion, Yang Ming had to take a lot of discs that Fang Tian gave him to recharge and learn. Now, Yang Ming's English level had a small achievement. At least, daily conversations were no longer a problem. "Who are you? How did you come in?" Dorsk was shocked by Yang Ming's voice. The small bird under his body was even smaller. "You don't need to know because you must die today," Yang Ming said coldly. "Eagle Temple. Eagle Temple, you bastard, where did you go?" Dorsk roared angrily. As he roared, his hand quickly touched his clothes. Maybe he was going to take a gun. Shuya's heart was very excited at this moment. She couldn't believe her eyes. It's him. It's really him. Although his voice had become more rough and the person had become more handsome and tall, Shuya still recognized the person in front of her at a glance. However, how is this possible? How did he suddenly appear in this place? Shuya even suspected that all of this was a dream. Such a fantastical thing could only happen in such an imaginative dream. The princess was kidnapped by the big bully, but at the critical moment, the prince appeared. What she thought during the day, she dreamed at night. Therefore, she had such a strange and outrageous dream. The person outside is called Eagle Temple. Yang Ming shrugged and said, "You don't have to call him that. He has already gone to the Western Heaven. If you want to find him, you can see him in the Western Heaven soon. Dorsk was horrified, but he didn't answer. The movements of his hands didn't stop for a moment. Take your time to find him. Don't worry. I will give you a chance to take out your gun. Yang Ming smiled indifferently. Dorsk's face was red and white. His purpose had been seen through by Yang Ming. Yang Ming was still so fearless. What did that mean? It meant that Yang Ming wasn't afraid of him taking out his gun. Dorsk gave up the idea of taking out his gun. Instead, he turned to beg for mercy. What do you want? How much money do you want? I will give it to you. Oh. Yang Ming's heart moved. He looked at Dorsk and said faintly, give me your bank account and password. This, you want it all? Dorsk was shocked. Why? You don't want to give it to me. Yang Ming snorted and tapped on Dorsk's body. Dorsk suddenly twitched and rolled on the ground. However, the sound insulation of this luxury suite wasn't just for show. Outside, there was no sound at all. Even if Dorsk shouted himself hoarse, no one would hear him. Chapter 638. Dorsk hadn't figured out what Yang Ming was going to do. The muscles of his whole body began to become dislocated. The twisting pain made him scream miserably. At the beginning, Dorsk thought that the pain was only momentary, but he helplessly found that this kind of pain was endless. Dorsk didn't know what Yang Ming did to him, but he couldn't think about it. His whole brain was in a state of confusion. Shuya, with her eyes wide open, looked at the strange scene in front of her. She was shocked. Yes, this must be a dream. Otherwise, there was no way to explain the facts that happened in front of her eyes. Because in Shuya's eyes, Yang Ming had become a great magician. With a casual wave of his hand, he could make Dorsk suffer unbearably. This was impossible to appear in reality except in a dream. Ah, pain. I can't take it anymore. Dorsk was like a big rat that had eaten poison, struggling and twisting on the ground. Yang Ming was unmoved and stared coldly at Dorsk. You're not human, you're the devil. Dorsk roared. Now he could only think so. In the eyes of most Westerners, he didn't understand what the acupuncture point was. Yang Ming's gentle finger could make Dorsk suffer inhuman torture. Who else could do it except the devil? Do you want to say it? Yang Ming smiled evilly. I can make you feel better. How about it? Do you want to try? I will say. Dorsk's brain nerves were out of control. Whatever Yang Ming asked him, he would say, my account in the Swiss bank is XXXXX. The password is XXXXX. Very good, I am very satisfied. Yang Ming nodded and secretly remembered the password. He picked up the phone and began to transfer the money. It was best to get this thing done as soon as possible, so as not to lose the money. Yang Ming also had an account in the Swiss bank, so he was familiar with the phone transfer. It was easy to transfer all the money in Dorsk's account to his own account. However, this Dorsk was really fucking rich. He actually had more than 30 billion euros in his account. Yang Ming really wanted to shout out, fuck me. He had struck it big this time. Originally, Dorsk wouldn't have said the account password so easily, but now his body was completely out of control, and he didn't think before speaking. If he was replaced by a strong-willed person, he might be able to grit his teeth and hold on, but Dorsk was different. He was used to being pampered. His life had always been smooth. Even his fingers had never been broken. How could he bear such a strong pain? Yang Ming was transferring the money over there, but Dorsk was suffering here. He was still suffering from the torment of pain. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. Dorsk couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, just kill me. I can't stand it anymore. It's too uncomfortable. Well, as you wish. Yang Ming answered Dorsk's question very quickly this time. Although Shuya couldn't believe that all of this was true, all of this really happened in front of her eyes. Although Shuya had a lot of questions in her heart, she couldn't ask. She didn't know who the person on the other side of Yang Ming's earpiece was, but that person wanted Yang Ming to kill her. It was really abominable. Fortunately, Yang Ming's heart was still so kind. Although he didn't recognize her, he didn't kill her. This made Shuya very happy. At the moment when Yang Ming got rid of Dorsk, she was afraid that Yang Ming had become a murderous demon king. But now it seemed that Yang Ming wasn't like that. Yang Ming didn't think as much as Shuya. The reason why he didn't kill Shuya was that he didn't want to kill innocent people. The other reason was that he still had a lot of things to ask Shuya. He quickly slipped out of the cabin and came to the deck. Yang Ming instantly disappeared into the waves. When he went back, Yang Ming didn't need to wear a waterproof suit because it wasn't necessary. Soon, he returned to his room on Henry Island. Yang Ming took off his wet clothes. He didn't obey Fong Tian's order. His heart was still a little nervous, but on the surface, he pretended that nothing had happened and said, "It went smoothly. Dorsk has been killed." Oh. Fong Tian looked straight at Yang Ming and only spat out one word. "Old man, why are you looking at me like that? It's creepy. Even if it's my first mission, and it's so smooth, you don't have to look at me like that, right?" Yang Ming said uncomfortably. "Do you know that girl?" Fong Tian asked faintly. "Which one? What girl?" Yang Ming was shocked, but there was no unnatural expression on his face. "What do you think?" Fong Tian smiled faintly. "It's the girl that you let go." Ah. Yang Ming was exposed by Fong Tian's behavior just now. He was a little embarrassed and immediately blushed. "You, how did you know?" "Playing tricks." Fong Tian snorted. "If you kill someone, can you let the person scream before they die?" Sweat. Yang Ming immediately understood how Fong Tian saw through him. It's really a case of being too smart for one's own good. The scream that I let Shuya scream became a flaw instead. Fong Tian was right. The people that I want to kill will die immediately. How can there be time to scream? The older the ginger, the spicier it is. The road is your own path. I won't say much. Fong Tian waved his hand. If you know her, then you find a way to deal with it yourself. I understand, she won't betray me. Although Yang Ming said so, he didn't understand Shuya's character at all. Well, take a bath and rest. Fong Tian said, the current mission is over. Chapter 639. With a loud whistle, the Alice set sail. No one knew that 4 people had become corpses on this ship, except for Shuya. But Shuya was determined not to say it, because this was a little secret between her and Yang Ming. There had been no little secret between the two of them for many years. This made Shuya couldn't help but think of the past and the things that happened when they were in school. After Dorsk's death, Shuya quickly returned to her room. She wanted to sort out her thoughts. What happened today was really too exciting. It was even more cinematic than acting in a movie. The hero saves the beauty, one move to defeat the enemy. In the end, I really saw him again. This time, it also made Shuya make her final decision. She decided to take the initiative to go back to Songjiang to find him. Yes, no matter how much resistance there was, she wasn't afraid. Yang Ming took a hot shower and washed his clothes. Otherwise, they were full of sand. Even if they were dried, he couldn't wear them. After all this was done, Yang Ming prepared to rest with peace of mind. Out of the bathroom, he found that Fong Tian was lying in bed watching TV, so he said, "Old man Fong, I got an unexpected fortune. Do you want some?" "How much?" Fong Tian asked casually. "Tens of billions of euros." Yang Ming said and sighed in his heart. It was said that drug trafficking was the most profitable business in the world. It seemed that it was true. The richest people weren't the billionaires on the list of the world's richest people, but the income of those billionaires was legal. The richest people were those who were involved in illegal activities. "Oh, you keep it for yourself." Fong Tian seemed to have no interest at all and shook his head. "Are you serious, old man? You think it's too little?" Yang Ming looked at Fong Tian in amazement. "Not a lot," Fong Tian said honestly. There was only one thought in Yang Ming's mind. This old man is pretending. The next morning, Fong Tian threw a tantrum with Yang Ming in the cafeteria. He complained that he drank too much wine yesterday afternoon. He didn't even board the Alice at night. Such an opportunity to enjoy was lost in vain. The waiter looked at the father and son arguing and didn't dare to say anything. When they heard that they didn't board the Alice, they felt some sympathy. After Fong Tian and Yang Ming finished their meal, they checked out and left Henry Island. The reason was simple. The two of them had missed the boarding time of the Alice. There was no need for them to stay any longer. No one doubted this reason because this reason was too simple and clear. The two of them were oil tycoons. Of course, they were qualified to board the Alice. Moreover, many tourists here also stayed here for the sake of boarding the Alice. "Are we going back?" Sitting on the return plane provided by Hozik, Yang Ming had no scruples. "Go back to Songjiang directly." "No, I'll bring you to a place and give you some training," Fong Tian said. "Where are we going?" Yang Ming asked curiously. Because Fong Tian didn't mention this matter beforehand. "You'll know when you get there," Fong Tian said mysteriously. Fong Tian was like this. If he wanted to say it, he would say it. If he didn't want to say it, it was useless to ask him. So, Yang Ming simply stopped asking. After a few hours of flight, the plane landed at a private parking lot on the edge of an ancient castle. "What is this place?" Yang Ming looked at the medieval castle in front of him and asked very strangely. "A friend's home." Fong Tian smiled and explained, "Here, you will become the best assassin in the world." In the following days, it was training day and night. Yang Ming couldn't even remember the days because the training wasn't carried out according to a fixed time every day. Instead, the training started when he woke up. Even before he woke up, Yang Ming was pulled up for training. In the beginning, Yang Ming was very skeptical about what Fong Tian said. "What's so special here? Can I become the best assassin in the world?" But now he understood. Fong Tian's words were not unreasonable. Here, Yang Ming was familiar with the use and disassembly of various firearms. He also learned to fly a plane, sail a boat, and so on. Every day, there was a lot of simulation training and even real confrontation training. Yang Ming didn't know what this place was, and he didn't know why there were so many people with extraordinary skills training with him. The only thing he knew was that his progress was lightning fast. Fong Tian left missions for Yang Ming every day. He didn't answer Yang Ming's other questions. Yang Ming was too lazy to ask again and devoted himself to the training. What surprised Yang Ming was that not only was the equipment here comprehensive, but even some of the environments were simulated very realistically. Desert, jungle, swamp, barren mountain, and so on. The simulation of survival and confrontation in various scenes made Yang Ming have a qualitative leap. Fong Tian's missions were similar to the actual assassination missions. He let Yang Ming kill the target in different scenes and environments every time. Some were in the light, some were in the dark. There were 1-on-1, 1-on-10, and even 1-on-100. However, Yang Ming finally completed Fong Tian's request. "Old man Fong, your apprentice seems to have good qualifications." Outside the training ground, another old man laughed at Fong Tian. "Old man Wang, I think you want to say that the son-in-law I chose for you is good, right?" Fong Tian rolled his eyes at the other old man. "Hee, it's the same, it's the same." Old man Wang nodded with satisfaction. "What's the same?" "Far from it." Fong Tian glared and said, "People say that a master is like a father. You are satisfied with my apprentice, but I am not satisfied with your daughter." The two old men were bickering outside the training ground, but the servants on the side didn't dare to make a sound. The family master, Wang Songzhan, who was usually very serious, only behaved like a child when he was with this person with the surname Fong. 10 days of training ended quickly. It was only 10 days, but Yang Ming felt unusually fulfilled. Leaving just like that? Yang Ming was a little unsatisfied. The environment here made him a little fascinated. This was indeed a good place to improve himself. Previously, Yang Ming thought that he was already very powerful. At least in the city, he was invincible. However, when he came here, he realized that his kung fu was far from enough. For these different environments, he simply lacked practical experience. "Let's go. You still have a chance to come here in the future." Fong Tian smiled ambiguously. Yang Ming didn't delve into Fong Tian's smile. This old man is often mysterious. Who knows what he means? Fong Tian said in his heart, "Kid, this is half your home in the future. You can come here whenever you want, right? Aren't you not satisfied with the marriage I arranged for you? I will arouse your desire first. Then, let's see if you are still satisfied or not." Although Yang Ming was reluctant to leave, he had been out for more than 10 days. He had to go back. Otherwise, his parents would definitely be anxious. When they went back, they still took the plane first, then changed to a boat on the high seas and smuggled back. Yang Ming didn't need to worry about all this. Hazik had already arranged it properly. However, the returning boat was more broken than the previous one. It was a fishing boat. The entire cabin was filled with the stench of seafood. However, when Yang Ming was training, he had stayed in worse environments. Now, this environment was nothing to him. Although they encountered some trouble when they returned to the country and met the patrolling marine police, Yang Ming and Fong Tian were not afraid because they were legal citizens with ID cards. There was no need to be afraid. After checking everyone's formalities, the marine police left. It was a daunting experience. When Yang Ming and Fong Tian once again set foot on the land of Songjiang, it was already 15 days later. After briefly explaining a few words to Fong Tian, the two separated. Fortunately, after returning home, Yang Ming's parents didn't suspect anything. They just asked about Yang Ming's well-being. "Right, Big Ming, when you were gone, there was a girl named Sun Jia who called you no less than 10 times. She seems to be a friend of Yang Li." Mother Yang had seen Sun Jia at Yang Li's house, so she had a vague impression of her. "Sun Jia? Why is she looking for me?" Yang Ming muttered to himself and suddenly slapped his thigh. This is bad. How could he have forgotten about this? I promised Sun Jia that I would go to her house to pretend to be her boyfriend during Chinese New Year. Big Ming, what's wrong with you? Mother Yang saw Yang Ming's strange behavior and asked with some surprise. Mom, I forgot something. I will make a call first. I will talk to you and Dad about this trip later. Yang Ming finished and quickly ran back to his bedroom. Chapter 640. Chen Mengyan was a relatively impulsive person emotionally. Every time she quarreled with Yang Ming, she felt regret. This time was the same. After Chen Mengyan returned home, she thought about it and felt that she was really too much. Zhao Ying was her former teacher, and she actually ridiculed her. What if she really had nothing with Yang Ming? Moreover, Chen Mengyan also felt that it seemed that there was no possibility between Yang Ming and Zhao Ying. Did she really misunderstand him? Chen Mengyan, who had calmed down, decided to give Yang Ming a chance to explain. If he called her, then she would give him a chance to explain. However, unfortunately, after waiting for a night, Yang Ming's call didn't come. Early the next morning, Chen Mengyan couldn't help but call Yang Ming's home. Chen Mengyan still couldn't put down her face to call Yang Ming. Why should I take the initiative to call you when you provoked me? But calling Yang Ming's home could be an excuse to call Yang Ming's parents to wish them a happy new year. Moreover, every time she called, Mother Yang would take the initiative to find Yang Ming to talk. Thinking of this, Chen Mengyan directly called Yang Ming's home. It was Mother Yang who answered the phone. Chen Mengyan quickly said, "Auntie, I am Chen Mengyan." "Oh, it's Mengyan." Mother Yang immediately said enthusiastically, "What's wrong? What's the matter?" "Nothing. I just called to wish you and Uncle a happy new year." Chen Mengyan certainly couldn't directly say that she was looking for Yang Ming. Hee, thank you. This child is really thoughtful. Big Ming just left, and you were afraid that we would be lonely, so you called to say hello. Mother Yang smiled and said, "I'm very happy." What? Yang Ming left. Where did he go? Chen Mengyan asked curiously. Didn't Big Ming go abroad to discuss business? Why? You don't know. Mother Yang was also very baffled. It was reasonable to say that if Yang Ming went out, it was impossible for Chen Mengyan not to know. Going abroad, to discuss business. Chen Mengyan's face stiffened, then she said perfunctorily, I know. I thought he didn't leave. Oh, he left last night. Mother Yang said, "Mengyan, if you have nothing to do, then come over and play. Big Ming is gone, so the two of us have nothing to do, okay?" Chen Mengyan hurriedly replied and hung up the phone. Went abroad. Yang Ming actually went abroad. Chen Mengyan sat on the bed in a daze. How could this be? Yang Ming, you're really something. You didn't even tell me that you were going abroad. However, after being annoyed, Chen Mengyan suddenly became scared again. Last time, it was because she misunderstood Yang Ming, which led to a quarrel between the two of them. As a result, Yang Ming brought back Lan Ling when he went out. This time, it was the same. Could it be that Yang Ming brought back another one? God, what is this? How can it be so coincidental? Chen Mengyan couldn't care much anymore. She picked up the phone and called Yang Ming's cell phone. But there was a cold female voice on the other side of the phone. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is turned off or not in the service area. Please try again later." Yang Ming went abroad. Naturally, he wouldn't bring his phone. The GSM network in Europe and the United States was 1900 MHz, which was different from the domestic 900–1800 MHz. Moreover, Yang Ming's SIM card didn't have a global roaming function. Besides, this time he went out to kill people. How could Yang Ming use his own SIM card? After arriving at the local area, he simply bought a temporary prepaid card and mobile phone to use. This was also the reason why Sun Jia couldn't contact Yang Ming. Unable to contact Yang Ming, Chen Mengyan was very anxious. What should I do? If Yang Ming brought back a woman this time, then I would really have the heart to die. Just as Chen Mengyan was at a loss, Zhao Ying's phone call came in. She asked Chen Mengyan to go out for tea. Chen Mengyan didn't care about being angry with Zhao Ying at the moment. It was better to have someone to discuss it with, not to mention that Zhao Ying was probably wronged by her. After Chen Mengyan said okay, she rushed to the coffee shop that Zhao Ying mentioned. This coffee shop was not far from the entertainment street of the temple fair. Zhao Ying had already gone to find the organizer of the rock climbing, who was the boss, this morning. She told the boss about yesterday's matter, hoping that the boss could help to clarify. The boss didn't care, and he did see Yang Ming being pulled down yesterday. It was just a lucky kiss, so he nodded and agreed. When Chen Mengyan arrived, Zhao Ying had already been waiting there. When she saw Chen Mengyan coming over, she smiled and nodded to her. She reached out and greeted, "Here, Mengyan." Seeing that Zhao Ying was as enthusiastic as usual, Chen Mengyan suddenly blushed. At this moment, she had almost determined that yesterday's matter was a misunderstanding. Otherwise, how could Zhao Ying still have the nerve to ask her out? Moreover, her father had told her before that what she saw was not necessarily the truth. It was just that she was too impulsive yesterday, so she didn't think much about it. It was only after she went home and calmed down that she figured out these things. Sister Zhao Ying. Chen Mengyan sat there hesitantly as if she was sitting on pins and needles. She didn't know what to say. "Mengyan, what's wrong with you?" Zhao Ying looked at Chen Mengyan's strange look and asked with some puzzlement. "No, yesterday, actually." Chen Mengyan was anxious to explain, but the more she wanted to say it, the more she couldn't understand. "Okay, Mengyan, let me say it." Zhao Ying smiled and then said softly, "Yesterday's matter is actually like this. You know, my family is from the south. I haven't been to the temple fair in Songjiang. I came back early this year, so I went to the temple fair. I don't know anyone here. It just so happened that Yang Ming picked me up at the airport, so we went to the temple fair together, and then..." So, Zhao Ying told Chen Mengyan what happened when she was rock climbing. It turned out to be like this. Chen Mengyan listened to Zhao Ying's explanation. Although she felt it was incredible, she also understood that yesterday's matter was actually a misunderstanding. "Yeah, let's go rock climbing together in a while. You can ask the boss there. He knows the whole process." Zhao Ying said. "Then there's no need. Sister Ying, I'm sorry for yesterday." Chen Mengyan didn't need to ask the boss again. Since Zhao Ying dared to let her ask, then what she said was naturally the truth. "What are you apologizing for?" Zhao Ying touched Chen Mengyan's forehead with some affection and said, "You and Yang Ming are my students. Now you are my younger brother and sister. You two are throwing tantrums at me. How can I put it in my heart? Oh. Sister Ying, you are so good to me." Chen Mengyan also believed that yesterday's matter was a misunderstanding at the moment. She also knew the relationship between Yang Ming and Zhao Ying. Although they were teacher and student, they were more like siblings. So when Zhao Ying returned to Songjiang, it was normal for Yang Ming to pick her up and accompany her to the temple fair. It was just that she was too subjective yesterday. She thought that there was something between Zhao Ying and Yang Ming. In fact, Chen Mengyan couldn't be blamed. Before, Yang Ming pretended to be Zhao Ying's boyfriend, which made Chen Mengyan faintly uncomfortable in her heart. Although she didn't say anything, she was also afraid that Yang Ming would make it real. When she saw Yang Ming and Zhao Ying kissing, she subconsciously thought of the matter of pretending to be her boyfriend. She couldn't help but think, could this be Yang Ming deliberately pretending to be her boyfriend? In fact, there was already a tacit understanding between the two. In this way, it was difficult for Chen Mengyan not to be angry, so there was the angry scene yesterday. "Well, I will reconcile with Yang Ming in a while." Zhao Ying shook her head. You two are really a pair of quarrelsome lovers. In a while. I'm afraid it won't work. Yang Ming went abroad. Chen Mengyan smiled bitterly and shook her head. What? Yang Ming went abroad. Zhao Ying widened her eyes in surprise. What went abroad? Didn't I see him yesterday? Looking at Zhao Ying's surprised expression, it didn't seem to be fake. Chen Mengyan finally felt relieved. It seemed that there was indeed no relationship between Yang Ming and Zhao Ying. Otherwise, if Yang Ming went abroad, it was impossible for Zhao Ying not to know. He left last night. Didn't you know? Chen Mengyan shook her head. Last night? Yesterday, after you were angry with him, we separated. I didn't know he was going abroad. Zhao Ying said in surprise. I just found out. Chen Mengyan sighed. I called Yang Ming's home in the morning. Auntie said that Yang Ming went abroad yesterday. This Yang Ming, why didn't he tell you that he went abroad? Zhao Ying said with some anger, he didn't even tell me, his sister. This kid is asking for a beating. When he comes back, I will scold him. Zhao Ying was just saying it casually. When she was in school, she couldn't win against Yang Ming once, let alone now. I don't blame him. Who asked me to be angry with him at this time? Chen Mengyan was also very helpless. Sister Ying. I'm scared. What are you scared of? Zhao Ying asked, puzzled. You see, Yang Ming was angry with me last time, so he went to Yunnan. As a result, he brought back a girl named Lan Ling. Do you think he can bring back another one when he goes abroad this time? Chen Mengyan and Zhao Ying didn't have anything to hide. Previously, they talked about Lan Ling's matter to her. This. It can't be. Zhao Ying was dumbfounded. Yang Ming is not as bad as you said. Zhao Ying thought, if Yang Ming loves every girl he sees, then the matter between me and Yang Ming can't be delayed. She also knew about Lan Ling's matter. It was just an accident. It was the type of get on the boat first, then get on the boat later type. It was purely out of helplessness. So, she said, wasn't it because Zhang Bin acted on his own accord? Moreover, at that time, you and Yang Ming weren't really together. Love is free. If you really want to talk about it, Lan Ling is the boss. You are the latecomer. Zhao Ying intentionally or unintentionally instilled this idea in Chen Mengyan. It was also to pave her own way in the future. That's true. Chen Mengyan was relieved. This time, if he finds another one, then I will break up with him. Hee, I'm just afraid that you can't bear to. Zhao Ying smiled and shook her head. Sister Ying, you are making fun of me too. Chen Mengyan was embarrassed. Zhao Ying said what was in her heart. Chen Mengyan was indeed reluctant, especially after the experience of Yang Ming taking her rock climbing the day before yesterday. Chen Mengyan was more and more attached to Yang Ming. However, Chen Mengyan was also a lot more relaxed at the moment. Yes, I was just angry with Yang Ming yesterday. I didn't say anything about breaking up. Those two people can only be regarded as a Cold War now. Yang Ming shouldn't have any bad thoughts, right? Besides, Yang Ming went abroad. Those foreign women look like Caucasians. Yang Ming shouldn't like them. Chen Mengyan comforted herself. Back in the room, Yang Ming called Sun Jia with a bitter face. Yang Ming. As soon as the phone was connected, Sun Jia's angry rebuke came, you finally showed up. Sweat. What do you mean I showed up? I have always been here. Yang Ming was not a person who didn't keep his promise, but this time, he really forgot. He was troubled by Chen Mengyan's matter before, and then he went directly with Fang Tian to perform the mission. He completely forgot about Sun Jie's matter. Yang Ming, where have you been for so many days? You didn't even turn on your phone. Sun Jie was obviously angry. I asked where you went, but your parents didn't tell me. Are you trying to avoid me on purpose? Yang Ming broke into a sweat. He went abroad to discuss business. Because Sun Jie and his parents were not very familiar, she might not have told him the details. But Sun Jie mistakenly thought that he was not willing to tell her and was avoiding her. He quickly explained, Sun Jie, I went out these days to discuss business. If he said that he went abroad, Sun Jie would definitely get to the bottom of it, so it was better to say that he went abroad. Then you didn't turn on your phone. Sun Jie was obviously not ready to let go of Yang Ming so easily. I didn't turn on the roaming function of my phone, so I left it at home. Yang Ming said, I'm sorry. Sun Jie, the thing you said, are you still in time? So what if I'm not in time? I have been waiting for you for the stars and the moon. Sun Jie said sarcastically, my dad already knows you. How do you expect me to find someone else to replace you at the last minute? Then I'll go tomorrow. Yang Ming said carefully. He was indeed in the wrong in this matter. He had already promised Sun Jie, but in the end, his own people disappeared and stood her up. Humph. Hurry up and come. Sun Jie said angrily, but let me tell you, my dad's impression of you is very bad. He said that you are better than him, and he has to wait so long to see you. I'm sorry. Yang Ming quickly apologized. Fortunately, it's not true. It's just an act. If I were really your boyfriend, I would be done for this time. You know it too. Sun Jie said, but you can't show it. My dad's temper is very bad. If he knows that you are an imposter. You have to bear the consequences. The consequences won't be that I go in standing and come out lying down, right? Yang Ming smiled. There is this possibility. Sun Jie said, you can try. Then I won't try. I will try my best to perform well. Yang Ming took back his joking tone and said, I'll go over tomorrow. And I will drive back to pick you up tomorrow. Sun Jie said. I won't bother you. I will find a car myself. Yang Ming said, it's quite troublesome for you to come from there. That's fine. Call me when you arrive in Donghai City tomorrow, and I will pick you up. Sun Jie also felt that this was better. It would take a lot of time to go to Songjiang and then return to Donghai. Besides, when her boyfriend came to visit, she had to personally go to Songjiang to pick him up. It would seem that she had no status. It wasn't very good to let her father see it. After talking to Sun Jie on the phone, Yang Ming could only smile bitterly. Other people would have a good rest and play at home during Chinese New Year, but what about me? I'm so busy every day that I can't even take a break. I just came back from training, and I have to go to Donghai. Yang Ming called Ho Jinhan and prepared to borrow his car. Hello, Big Ho. I'm Yang Ming, said Yang Ming. Brother Yang, you finally called. I have something to ask you. Ho Jinhan heard Yang Ming's voice and said quickly. Oh. I've been gone for a few days. Is there anything that you can't handle? Yang Ming didn't take it seriously. Brother Yang, I don't know where Guo Jinbiao found Master Qi's connection. Under the leadership of Master Qi, he came to negotiate with us, said Ho Jinhan. What is Master Qi? Yang Ming had never heard of this name. Who knows what kind of person he is? Master Qi. How do I say it? It turns out that he is a gangster leader in our province. He was very famous in the 70s. He was a famous stubborn person. Later on, during the crackdown in 1983, he had washed his hands of it. However, he is still respected by many people in the underworld. He is respectfully called Master Qi. Even Sun Hongjun gives him some face. Ho Jinhan explained, Guo Jinbiao took advantage of the fact that we injured his son this time and found Master Qi. I don't know if Master Qi is old or he took advantage of Guo Jinbiao. He is obviously biased toward Guo Jinbiao. The conditions offered during the negotiation are very harsh. It is simply aimed at us. Oh. This Master Qi is still very powerful now. Yang Ming frowned. I can't say that he is powerful. It's just that when we mingle in the underworld, we pay attention to seniority. He is an old senior. Everyone gives him some face. Moreover, when there are disputes in the underworld, everyone likes to let him preside over justice. After all, he is highly respected, said Ho Jinhan. Really? What did they say? Asked Yang Ming. We have talked about it once before, but I don't want to agree to their conditions. Ho Jinhan said, Bao Sanli also thinks that they are too much. But because of Master Qi, we can't turn against them on the spot. What are the conditions? Asked Yang Ming. This. It's not clear on the phone. Master Qi and Guo Jinbiao will come over for the second negotiation. Brother Yang, why don't you come and take a look? Ho Jinhan also hoped to let Yang Ming make the decision. Well, then you come and pick me up. Yang Ming thought, this phone call. Isn't it looking for trouble for me? Yang Ming believed that even if he didn't appear, with Ho Jinhan's ability, he could eventually deal with this matter. Now, since I know, there is no reason to ignore it. Why are these things happening at the same time? Can't they let me rest? He put on the coat that he had just taken off and walked out of the room. Big Ming, why are you wearing clothes again? Yang Dehai was watching TV. When he saw Yang Ming come out, he immediately asked, baffled. Dad, there is still something at my friend's place. I have to go there immediately. Yang Ming explained. This child, you just came home and went out. You didn't stay for a while. Yang Dehai said helplessly. Old Yang, now the child is busy with the company's business. It's all business. Why do you always worry about it? Mother Yang understood Yang Ming very well. Oh, that's true. Yang Dehai nodded and said, then you pay attention to your safety. Go early and come back early. I know, Dad, Mom, I will go first. Yang Ming glanced at the mobile phone text message. Ho Jinhan had already arrived downstairs at his home. Chapter 641. In the car, Ho Jinhan handed a settlement letter to Yang Ming and said, this is the settlement letter that Guo Jinbiao handed to us through 7th Master. The money on it has been approved by 7th Master. Yang Ming took the settlement letter from Ho Jinhan's hand and read it. Can you see it? Do you want to turn on the reading light in the car? Ho Jinhan saw that Yang Ming immediately read it, so he asked. It's okay. I'm just looking around with the help of the moonlight. Yang Ming's ability to see in the dark naturally couldn't be shared with Ho Jinhan. Compensate 10 million in medical expenses. Allow him to open a large nightclub in Songjiang. Hold a banquet to apologize. Yang Ming looked at the settlement letter and couldn't help but be amused. He really dares to think about it. Why doesn't he ask us to give up Songjiang's territory to him? He probably has this idea, but he doesn't have the guts. Ho Jinhan smiled. Brother Yang, do you think it's too much? It's not too much. This Guo Jinbiao is simply a psychopath. Yang Ming opened the window, tore the settlement letter, and threw it out of the window. Brother Yang, are you not going to give 7th Master face? Ho Jinhan saw Yang Ming's move and knew that Yang Ming had decided not to buy it. 7th Master, I haven't heard of it. Yang Ming said faintly, if he is really fair, then I can respect him. After all, he is an old man. But if he is biased, then I can only apologize. Although I am not good at bullying the old man, it is okay to bully him occasionally. Ha! Ho Jinhan listened to Yang Ming's words and laughed. Brother Yang, what do you say next? This Gui Jinbiao makes me annoyed. He jumps around all day like a retard. What was Yang Ming's current identity? He was the king of assassins. It was an insult to be troubled by a clown. I feel annoyed just by looking at him. Brother Yang, you mean? Ho Jinhan's body shook. He vaguely understood Yang Ming's idea. Does Yang Ming want to cross the line? Gui Jinbiao is coming with that seventh master tonight. Yang Ming asked. Yes, they came together last time, said Ho Jinhan. That's great. Without a leader, we can just destroy Gui Jinbiao's lair. As for Gui Jinbiao, he doesn't need to go back. Yang Ming smiled evilly. If that seventh master is tactful, then he'll wait and see. If he's not, then there's nothing I can do. Brother Yang, do you mean that our people are going to Jidun City now? Ho Jinhan looked at Yang Ming inexplicably. Isn't this a bit too fast? We aren't prepared at all. If we go directly to Jidun City, even if we win, it will definitely be a Pyrrhic victory. Seeing Ho Jinhan's thoughts, Yang Ming smiled and waved his hand. I don't need your people. Have you forgotten that I still have a group of dark forces? Brother Yang, are you talking about Li Chang and the others? Ho Jinhan's expression changed as he remembered Yang Ming's group of devils. At first, Ho Jinhan didn't put them in his eyes, but with Yang Ming's intensive training, Li Chang, who was originally on par with Ho Jinhan, could easily take down Ho Jinhan. Ho Jinhan was now developing in the direction of leadership and management. Otherwise, he would have gone to train with Li Chang. After all, the strength of these people was simply terrifying and strange. However, thinking of Yang Ming's skill, Ho Jinhan didn't feel strange. A great teacher produces a great disciple. Ho Jinhan wasn't very clear about how high Yang Ming's kung fu was. Yes, it's them. Yang Ming nodded. It's time to release them. Since he made up his mind, Yang Ming would immediately execute it. He let Ho Jinhan change the direction of the car and drive to the abandoned warehouse. Right, Big Ho, I want to use the car tomorrow. Yang Ming remembered that he still had an appointment with Sun Jie tomorrow. This person, why can't he be idle when he's badass? I'm not that badass yet, and I'm already so busy. If I were to be badass in the future, wouldn't I be exhausted? Okay, then Brother Yang, you can drive the car directly tonight. Ho Jinhan now had no doubt about Yang Ming's ability. In the conversation between the two people, it seemed that they didn't take Gui Jinbiao seriously at all, as if his death had become a fact. The two people had now begun to calmly talk about tomorrow's car problem. And, let's do this. You buy a few more cars. Mingyang is now very developed, and one car is not enough. Yang Ming said, right, the Nightless Club is not small now. You should buy a long luxury car as a VIP car. Okay, Brother Yang, about buying a car, I don't dare to make a decision without you saying it. Ho Jinhan said, just buy this BMW X5. I'm afraid that you will scold me. I'm not a miser. Yang Ming said with a smile, then I won't return this car to you first. I will drive it for a while. I'm too lazy to buy a new car. It's too troublesome to go through the formalities. Ho Jinhan naturally had no objection. This car was originally Yang Ming's. It was normal for Yang Ming to drive it away. Now, Yang Ming's mentality was different. Since his parents knew that he was rich, and he opened a jewelry company and invested in a bus factory with great fanfare. There was no need to avoid anything. The original idea of buying a cheap car to drive first was dispelled. Yang Ming's BMW X5 felt good, and the control performance was excellent. Yang Ming drove it very smoothly, so he directly asked for it. Now, Yang Ming's mentality was different. He thought that he was already very rich before, sitting on more than $300 million, but he didn't expect that when Dorsk died, he actually extorted more than 30 billion and nearly 40 billion euros from him. It could be said that even if Yang Ming squandered it, the money wouldn't be spent in dozens of lifetimes. It turned out that being an assassin was so profitable. The first mission had such a large income. Moreover, there was still a diamond mine in South Africa that he had not yet received. With his special abilities, it was another large fortune. The car stopped at the door of the old warehouse and was stopped by a few people. It seemed that the vigilance of these people was still very high. Yang Ming opened the window and said to the person who stopped him, "It's me, boss." Seeing that it was Yang Ming sitting in the car, several other people quickly opened the door of the warehouse yard and let Yang Ming in. Li Chang, Lu Chao, and Wang Peng apparently got the feedback from several people on duty at the door. They were already standing at the door of the warehouse to greet them. "Boss, President Ho." Li Chang saw Yang Ming and Ho Shinhan get out of the car and immediately greeted them. Yang Ming nodded. He was very satisfied with the current situation. The division of labor was clear, and the strict military management had greatly improved the security and secrecy here. Although in Songjiang, no one would come here to find trouble, Yang Ming also wanted to improve the overall quality of these people, so he was strict with them. "Li Chang," Yang Ming said loudly. "Yes." Li Chang immediately trotted in front of Yang Ming, then he stood at attention and replied crisply, "What orders does the boss have?" "Before I left, have you completed the training task that I ordered?" asked Yang Ming. Reporting to the boss, Team 1 and Team 2 have successfully completed the training task. A member of Team 3 pulled a muscle during training and is resting now. Li Chang said loudly. "Oh. Is it serious?" Yang Ming asked with some concern. Li Chang didn't expect Yang Ming to be so concerned about an inconspicuous member, and he was immediately moved. Although these people had basically sold their lives to Yang Ming, they wouldn't say anything even if Yang Ming treated them like servants. But after all, people had feelings, and they also wanted to be respected by others. "Thank you for your concern, boss." Wang Peng was the captain of Team 3. He quickly reported to Yang Ming. Lu Xinyang, a member of Team 3, pulled a muscle in his leg during training. He is now recuperating. He will be fully recovered in about a month. "Oh." Yang Ming frowned and said, "Take me to see it." "Yes." Wang Peng said quickly. Then he led the way in front. "Boss, please." Wang Peng took Yang Ming to the dormitory of the warehouse. This was originally the staff dormitory of the warehouse. Later, the warehouse was abandoned, and it was left idle. After Li Chang and the others came in, the dormitory was renovated. The environment inside was not bad. When they came to a dormitory, Wang Peng pushed the door open and shouted inside, "Lu Xinyang, the boss came to see you personally." Lu Xinyang was reading Sun Tzu's The Art of War on the bed at the moment. Since the muscle on his leg was pulled, he was very anxious. Not to mention that it delayed the training, he was a person who couldn't stay idle. Think about it. How many people who practice martial arts can stay idle? When he was bored, he took a copy of Sun Tzu's The Art of War and read it. He was very interested in these things, and now he could pass the time. Chapter 642. Hearing that the boss came to see him, Lu Xinyang quickly put down the book in his hand, then sat up from the bed laboriously. He quickly said, "Boss, you are here. Your leg is injured. Don't get up." Yang Ming quickly waved his hand to stop him. "How are you, boss?" Lu Xinyang said with some shame, "Thank you for your concern, boss, but this is all my fault. How can you blame yourself when you are injured? No one can guarantee that there won't be any accidents." Yang Ming shook his head and said, "Where is the injury? Let me see." "Boss. In fact, I made the decision to increase the training intensity for you, so you are injured." Lu Xinyang said with embarrassment, "The injury is on my leg. You don't have to look. I haven't bathed for a few days. The smell of sweat on my body is too strong." "Oh." Yang Ming was stunned and looked at Wang Peng with some surprise. Wang Peng also smiled bitterly. "Boss, Lu Xinyang's physical fitness is worse than others, so his acceptance during training is weaker. He increased the training intensity for himself to catch up with others." Yang Ming frowned after listening. "This is not good. Don't do this in the future. This is not the way to improve. Wang Peng and Li Chang, you two have to pay more attention in the future. If someone else does this, you must stop it. Everyone else's physical fitness is about the same." Li Chang said, "Even if it is a little bit worse, it will not have much impact. Only Lu Xinyang is a special case." "Oh. Lu Xinyang, since your physical fitness is not good, why do you still want to learn martial arts?" Yang Ming also saw at this time that Lu Xinyang's qualifications were not high. It would be difficult for him to have a breakthrough. This was like the martial arts practitioners in the past. Many of the apprentices who entered the sect at the same time learned and practiced together every day. But in the end, some people became peerless masters, and some people were very mediocre for life. Therefore, practicing martial arts was not something that could be improved with hard work. In many cases, the effort and return were not proportional. Take himself as an example. Even Fang Tian was surprised by his growth speed. During those 10 days of training, many of the people who were his opponents had received assassin training since they were young, but they were still not his opponent. Even if a few of them worked together, they would still not be a match for him. This was everyone's aptitude. These things could not be changed through hard work. Hearing Yang Ming's tone, Wang Peng was shocked. He thought that Yang Ming didn't like Lu Xinyang and wanted to eliminate him, so he quickly explained, "Boss, although Lu Xinyang's qualifications are not good, he is already very good now. He can't compare to us, but he is definitely better than the other people in the security company. Moreover, Lu Xinyang is very smart. Although his martial arts are ordinary, when we were in the martial arts school, we all called him Little Zhuge." These people had all graduated from the martial arts school and were as close as brothers. Naturally, they did not want any of them to be eliminated. And as the leader of Squad 3, Wang Peng would definitely speak up for Lu Xinyang. The reason why he talked about Lu Xinyang's strengths in other aspects was to let the boss know that although Lu Xinyang's martial arts were not good, he was still good in other areas and was not useless. "Oh." Yang Ming looked at Lu Xinyang with some surprise. When he entered the room, Yang Ming saw the Sun Tzu's Art of War in Lu Xinyang's hand. He wondered if Lu Xinyang could understand it, but he didn't expect this guy to really have this talent. "I didn't expect that you have this expertise, boss. I just like to think about it and come up with some ideas. Don't listen to Captain Wang Peng's words." Lu Xinyang scratched his head and said with a red face, "Well, I will first look at your wound, and then we will talk about other things." Yang Ming decided to test this Lu Xinyang. What Yang Ming lacked the most now was talents, and they were intelligent talents. Now, with the development of the business, Yang Ming felt a little powerless. He was so busy with just a small scale. If he expanded, wouldn't he be tired to death? How did the Emperor Guangwu of Eastern Han, Lu Xiu, die? Wasn't it because he had to do everything personally? Now, if Yang Ming had to personally plan and follow up on everything, even if he didn't die of exhaustion, it would be suffocating. For example, people like Li Chang had the strength, but they just lacked a think tank, which was a strategist-type character. If this Lu Xinyang was really like what Wang Ping said, he was a strategist-type character, then Yang Ming really picked him up. Lu Xinyang pulled up his pants in fear. Yang Ming glanced at him, then smiled and said, "This is easy. I guarantee that you can walk in a while." After that, Yang Ming took out a bottle of medicinal wine that was prepared according to Fang Tian's secret recipe. This was a necessity. It was often used when performing tasks, so Yang Ming would carry a bottle with him every day. Just like the lily key, these things were commonly used. Yang Ming always carried them with him. Seeing that Yang Ming was going to apply medicine to himself, and the bottle was very small, Lu Xinyang subconsciously thought that this medicine must be very expensive, so he quickly said, "Boss, I think it's better to forget it. I will be fine after a few days. You don't need to waste the medicine." This medicine was indeed expensive. It was simply hard to find outside, but these were prepared by Yang Ming himself. Although the cost was not low, Yang Ming was now rich. He didn't lack this at all. "Tonight, there is a mission for you to do." Yang Ming waved his hand and said seriously, "This is your first mission. I don't want any of you to be absent. If you can't participate in the mission because of this small injury, I think you will regret it, right?" Yang Ming's words made the people present excited. There is a mission today. It's no wonder. These days, these people were really suffocated. Every day in the old warehouse, they were training non-stop. They wanted to test how much their strength had improved, but they didn't have the chance. Therefore, when they heard that Yang Ming would give them a mission today, Li Chang, Wang Peng, and the others' eyes immediately lit up. As for Lu Xinyang, he was even more excited. He didn't expect that the boss would actually treat him personally because he was afraid that he would regret it. This made him very moved. If it weren't for the fact that men don't cry easily, perhaps his eyes would have been filled with tears. Resisting the urge to cry, Lu Xinyang secretly swore that he would follow the boss in the future and do his best. Yang Ming was originally proficient in the massage technique, and with the cooperation of good medicine, Lu Xinyang felt that the injury on his leg was cool, and the pain from before dissipated a lot. "Okay, you just need to rest a little more." Yang Ming stood up, clapped his hands and said, "Boss." Lu Xinyang wanted to say thank you, but he couldn't. In this kind of situation, all the formalities were superfluous. "Well, Wang Peng, since you said that Lu Xinyang is a resourceful person, then let's listen together." Yang Ming said, "In a while, you will go to Jiduan City. This mission is to eliminate the underworld gang in Jiduan City, the money gang." "Okay." Li Chang agreed without thinking. He was already bored enough, and when he heard that they were going to eliminate the underworld gang, he naturally agreed. Li Chang couldn't do it for them to make a move on innocent people, but when it came to the underworld gang, there was no need for any sympathy. Moreover, they had also heard of the money gang. One of the members' families was in Jiduan City. The reason why the money gang in Jiduan City was called the money gang was because Guo Jinbiao's name had the word Jin, but the most important thing was that this gang was only interested in profit. In the eyes of the money gang, there was only money, and there was no morality. This gang controlled almost all the industries in Jiduan City and set a corresponding standard for the collection of protection fees for each industry, from the catering industry to the bookstore and department store. The money gang was not allowed to call for protection fees on the 1st of May. Otherwise, they would not be able to do business. If it was a reasonable fee, this was nothing. After all, some entertainment venues still hoped to have the gang to provide protection, but those bookstores and cultural and educational department stores did not need any protection at all. However, Guo Jinbiao was extremely greedy. The standard of fees for these industries was even higher than the formal tax of the tax bureau. As a result, some industries immediately suffered. Those hotels and entertainment industries could still bear it, but those with smaller profits, such as small supermarkets, small hardware stores, and so on, could not bear it. Originally, they had small profits but quick turnover. Naturally, they were suffering because of this protection fee, but they did not dare to say anything. Well, you dare to call the police. That's fine. Anyway, the people who came to collect protection fees were all little punks. At most, they would be caught and locked up for a few days, but the next day, hundreds of little punks could destroy your house. Chapter 643. Although Guo Jinbiao was greedy, he couldn't be caught. His superficial identity was a well-known entrepreneur. It wasn't easy to move him. With this superficial identity, Guo Jinbiao not only cleaned up his black reputation, but he also didn't worry that someone would investigate him. In fact, although the majority of the common people hated the evil forces, very few of them dared to resist. Who didn't have a family and children? What if the other party retaliated against their own family members? In addition, over the years, they were influenced by the gangsters in Hong Kong and Taiwan movies. They thought that the underworld was very cruel and immoral, so they could only let Guo Jinbiao do what he wanted. Many people in Jiduan City didn't know who the mayor was, but it was impossible not to know who Guo Jinbiao was. Guo Jinbiao was the local tyrant of Jiduan City. When they heard that they were going to eliminate the money gang, Li Chang and the others were immediately eager to try. Although these people were now under Yang Ming's command, Yang Ming asked them to stay here and train, so they could only train honestly. However, people who practiced martial arts couldn't stay idle by nature. If there was an opportunity to go out and exercise, how could they let it go? Well, Big Ho, you tell everyone about the distribution of Guo Jinbiao's Golden Gun Gang in Jiduan City and study the action route at night. Yang Ming said to Ho Jinhan. Okay. Ho Jinhan said as he took out a pen and paper and began to write on it. Guo Jinbiao's money gang is headquartered in the Jinya Hotel in the western district of Jiduan City. There are about 300 permanent members. It is the main force of the money gang. In other areas, there are some industries that belong to the money gang, such as the Good Luck Bar in the eastern district, the Crazy Biao nightclub in the southern district, and so on. These are the industries of the money gang. There are dozens of money gang members guarding each house. Ho Jinhan had been following up on Guo Jinbiao's matters these days, so he had a thorough understanding of Guo Jinbiao's background. Now that he said it, naturally, it was clear and detailed. What are we waiting for? It's just 300 people. Fuck them. Li Chang pointed to the Jinya building on the map and said, let's rush directly to their headquarters and kill them all. What do you think? Yang Ming suddenly turned his head and asked Lu Xinyang. Boss. I think what Captain Li said makes sense. Our people have been trained for so long. It's more than enough to deal with those 300 hooligans. It's just that. Lu Xinyang hesitated. Oh. But what? If you have anything to say, just say it. You don't have to care about Li Chang's face. Yang Ming waved his hand and said, that kid has a one-track mind. There's no other way other than direct PK. Ha! Li Chang also smiled embarrassedly and said, Lu Xinyang, if you have any good ideas, hurry up and say it. Why are you still keeping us in suspense in front of the boss? Yes. Boss, I think so too. Lu Xinyang said, although our people are very powerful, we have fewer people after all. We only have 39 people. It's inevitable that there will be casualties if we go head-to-head with more than 300 people. Since this is our first operation, there might be some unexpected accidents. Therefore, I suggest that we start with the properties of the surrounding money gang. What's the use of using those small pieces? Li Chang interjected puzzledly. That can't hurt the other party's vitality at all. Li Chang, don't talk. Let Lu Xinyang continue to speak. Yang Ming waved his hand to stop Li Chang. Li Chang immediately shut his mouth obediently and didn't dare to speak again. In this way, the headquarters will definitely send people to support these surrounding properties when they are in a state of emergency, but they will definitely not send all of them. Lu Xinyang said, I think that our 3 teams will start with the 3 properties of the money gang separately, and then wait for them to ask for help from the headquarters. Before their reinforcements arrive, our 3 teams will quickly evacuate, and then directly kill the money gang's headquarters. We will take this opportunity to take down the Genia building in one fell swoop. At this moment, those who went to support will definitely run back after receiving the news that the headquarters was attacked. In this way, these people will be troubled enough. Moreover, the people left in the headquarters have been eliminated by us. It will be easy to deal with the remaining people. In this way, we can minimize our casualties to a minimum. Not bad. Yang Ming's eyes immediately lit up. It seems that Lu Xinyang's plan is still good, so he said, You are so sure that these people will act according to the situation you set? If Guo Jinbiao stays in Jiduan City, there may be some variables, but now that their boss is not here, these people have no leader. They are afraid that the properties below will be destroyed and the boss will blame them when he comes back, so they will definitely send people to support. Lu Xinyang said with certainty, however, taking a step back, even if the people from the headquarters don't go to support, then we have no losses. Smashing these surrounding properties will not pose the slightest threat to our combat effectiveness. Even if they don't come back to support, we can at most go directly to their headquarters like what Captain Li Chang said. Fuck them. Yang Ming couldn't help but nod and laugh, ha ha ha, well said. Not bad, it makes sense. Not bad. Li Chang also nodded with appreciation after listening. Your idea is good. The money gang's people are running around in circles. When the time comes, we don't have to waste our energy to fight. Wang Peng, shouldn't you promote him to a vice-captain? Yang Ming allowed each captain of the small team to choose an excellent member as the vice-captain, so Li Chang had this suggestion. No need. Yang Ming said, from today onwards, Lu Xinyang, you are the military advisor of the entire team. In the future, every action will be commanded by you and Li Chang. Ah. Lu Xinyang was stunned and quickly thanked, thank you, boss. Boss, you can rest assured that I will work hard. No way. In the blink of an eye, you and I are on the same level. Li Chang was also a little surprised, but he was happy for Lu Xinyang. After all, there was a position where he could play his strengths. It was also from this moment that a mythical team was born. From the first mission, this would be a team with 0 deaths. Under Lu Xinyang's planning, every mission was completed smoothly, which also saved a lot of trouble for Yang Ming. It could be seen that Lu Xinyang was a thoughtful and holistic person. He quickly came up with a feasible implementation plan and route with Li Chang. Yang Ming felt that there was no problem after looking at it, so he got up and left the warehouse with Ho Jinhan. Yang Ming had asked Ho Jinhan to buy a golden dragon bus for Li Chang and the others to use, so after Yang Ming left, Li Chang immediately gathered the people, boarded the bus, and drove to Jiduan City with murderous intent. Of course, some things still had to be done. After all, 7th Master's position in the underworld was there. Yang Ming didn't want Ho Jinhan and Bao Sanli to be criticized and said that they didn't know the rules. Of course, the rules were set by people. I gave you face. If you don't know how to be content, then don't blame me for being rude. Yang Ming came to the Nightless Club with such an idea at the moment. If Seventh Master was smart and stayed out of it, then Yang Ming wouldn't embarrass him. But it seemed that he had to teach him a lesson. This guy was obviously jackals of the same tribe as Guo Jinbiao. Brother Yang, shall we go and greet them? If only Guo Jinbiao came alone, then Ho Shinhan would definitely not bother with him, but now there was Seventh Master, so he had to put on a show. Greet, why don't you greet them? Find an underling and watch at the door. When the time comes, just lead them to the conference room. Yang Ming said very casually, let's go, Big Ho. Accompany me to steam a sauna. Let Bao Sanli come over, too. Ha! Ho Shinhan immediately understood the meaning of Yang Ming. That was, he simply didn't put the people in his eyes. Thinking about it, Guo Jinbiao's nest was about to be destroyed. Why would he be afraid of him? As for that Seventh Master, as long as he didn't lose the proper etiquette, it would be fine. Yang Ming had just gotten off the broken fishing boat. There was still the smell of fish and shrimp on his body. When he returned home, he didn't have time to take a shower, so he was ready to take a shower at this moment. Yang Ming had ordered, so Bao Sanli naturally didn't dare to not come. He took off his clothes with Yang Ming, put on a bathrobe, and went into the sauna room. Damn! Brother Yang, your capital is quite strong. Looking at the muscles on Yang Ming's body, Bao Sanli said very enviously, how did you train? I will throw you to Li Chang. I guarantee that you will become like me in half a month. Yang Ming smiled. Then, forget it. I heard that it's not a place for people to stay. Bao Sanli smiled. During the negotiation, don't give face to Guo Jinbiao and Seventh Master. Just say what you need to say. Yang Ming instructed. I understand. Don't worry, Brother Yang. Bao Sanli had heard from Ho Shinhan that Li Chang was going to destroy Guo Jinbiao's nest, so he answered very quickly.